energy.
Yeah, well, I'm just
guys. This is show 152 for those people who aren't familiar with
you were here
show.
late night with the 4Nerds.
We're doing Wednesdays now instead of Thursdays.
Yes.
I don't know if anyone's aware.
yeah,
They might be. It's a possibility.
People aware of that.
We know 3 people are.
We are all here today. Well, 3 of us are here for now. One of them should be here shortly, soon-ish. I don't fucking know. He might show up.
He's been detained.
he's been detained. Let's get this started. Hey, what is up, everybody?
What's up, everyone?
Howdy.
Continue. You can go ahead and continue, Ryan.
Oh man, no. This is your show, bro.
Yeah, you're
This
getting
is
over
our
being
show.
sick.
Come on,
We can
man.
tell.
We all do this. It's a collective effort here. Come on.
I feel like everybody that I know is either in the middle of a cold or getting over a cold, like all at the same time.
Yes.
Because I had a cold all of last week. My little brother has had a cold since a couple days ago, and he drove down with me.
Andre had one last
Denver.
week. I
Yep.
think that's where I got it from.
I had one like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's just that time of year, I guess.
Yep.
Everybody's all out of energy, and everybody's getting over being sick. But regardless of that, we do have a lot to talk about today. I was kind of thinking yesterday, like, man, what
What are we going to talk about? And then
everything
today happened.
dropped.
Right.
Everything dropped. For those who don't know, we'll get to all that in a second. But let's just say hello to some people who are in the chat so far. We got Anthony Belcher. What's up, man?
What
Trash
up?
man. Trash man.
Trash man.
First trash.
And we got Jason. What's up, man? What's up, guys? We got
Yo.
Nerd Costa Nostra saying, what up? Hope everyone is doing well. And
What's up, buddy?
so,
Okay.
man, always good to see
Doing
you.
okay.
Always good to see you. We got Ricardo Buchanan saying, sup?
What
is
up?
Up. And Droga here says, what up, 3 nerds? Yes, we should have a fourth one, like Phil
nerds.
said.
Yeah, we're changing, rebranding.
Yes, whole new marketing campaign and everything.
We're like Marvel. Wait, what?
No. Yeah. You're not wrong.
Just kidding.
We got Matt here saying, who left the fridge open? I love that movie. It's a great movie. But yeah, man, guys, it's been, for me at least, it's been 2 weeks since I've been able to talk to you guys. I wasn't here last week. I was traveling. And look who it is.
Oh wow.
Speak the devil's name, and he shall appear.
Yes.
He shall appear to
He's
you.
like Rumpelstiltskin.
No, that's me. I'm
What?
Wilson.
What? What's up, man? How you doing?
Oh, look, he's
Yeah,
even got a
good.
Marvel shirt on. He's ready to talk
I
today.
know.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I have to jump right into this and just kind of.
He's that guy.
Well,
that
we're
takes
still
it all
doing
in.
hellos
He
and
puts a band
highs,
on his
so
shirt.
give it a minute, you know.
We are. And guys, if you like the shirt that Ryan's wearing, you can buy that on his Teespring. Oh wait, is that one you made, or is that
They took it away.
they took
No
it
shit.
away?
Well, just contact him and he'll figure it out for you.
Yeah. I'll definitely
I wish
I'll
they
definitely
would
set it up.
I wish DC would do a shirt like that though, because that is like
Yeah.
the primetime
These are-
fucking
this is
Joker
dope.
logo. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's freaking cool. There's
Is
a lot
that
of
why
shirts
they got you for that? It was because of the logo.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
That sucks.
Speaking of artwork, be sure to check out DJWArt.com for all your art needs. Use the promo code SPOOKYTIME until November 4th. Get 25% off all your merch on. I found
3
a
days
weird.
left and counting.
Spooky time.
I just thought of a random thing. I was like, why not? Make it fun. Cortez says, where's the pizza? I had pizza earlier
We
today.
don't have pizza.
I had
Spooky
Domino's.
time.
Although,
I mean, okay,
Spooky
to be
time.
fair, I had pizza last Friday, but that
Okay, well,
Spooky time. That's hilarious.
oh man. But you said last week, Phil's what you said?
I last week I did have pizza, but unfortunately it was after a funeral. So
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
That's
unfortunate.
not a good.
yeah.
Was the
Yeah.
pizza
Violation.
tasty?
I mean, it was Little Caesars. It was decent pizza.
Hey, I had Little Caesars at the convention this past weekend. I had the stuffed crust Little Caesars.
I
Okay.
like Little Caesars. Like when I buy it, I have to get the pizza dipping sauce that they
Yes.
use for the stick. I just
And the
douse it in
Daisy
that.
bread.
Dipping sticks.
dipping
Dipping
sticks.
sticks,
But
yes.
I dip the pizza in that as well. It's so
Okay.
good.
Okay. I like it. I'm a fan.
That's dang good. Dang good. RJ
Damn
says here,
good.
this is probably one of the biggest entertainment news articles of the year. Everyone's talking about this, and we will indeed get to it for sure.
Do we
We got
have
Hunter
to
Iggy.
consider who fucking wrote it?
I know. I was going to tell you that when you shared it.
I
was
gotta
like,
throw.
oh,
I gotta
Tatiana
throw the shit.
Siegel. There we go.
Come on, guys. You know me. I'm the.
But I
shade
mean, it's so interesting because, like, how long have we been getting these articles about DC and about all the horribleness happening with the DCU? Oh, thank you. And now we're actually getting it about the MCU. It's like it's unbelievable that is actually happening.
It's unbelievable.
Well, that's crazy. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, though, I do want to offer my condolences to the family of Matthew Perry, legendary actor on the show Friends. I've talked about how much I love the show Friends. Chandler being the best character. Thank you for the close-up. But I just absolutely loved what Matthew Perry did with that role and with other roles that he had throughout his career. Tragic passing, of course, absolutely. So again,
unexpected, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, here the way that it happened, it's like goodness gracious, that's insane. But again, our condolences, thoughts, and prayers go out to the family of Matthew Perry and all of his friends, as well as, of course, the cast of the show. Of course, they're all very close. I want to get that out of the way and just again offer that because that was huge news.
100%. Yeah, I echo that same sentiment. I mean, Matthew Perry was just like he was fucking Chandler.
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
Chandler.
Come on, man. It's just
like charismatic people ever.
Yeah,
like
100%.
And it's all sad because like he just released his book and he had like the Friends reunion, like was it 2 years ago now?
Yeah.
And,
2 years ago.
Just all that timing is just crazy.
That's pretty sad, man. It's pretty sad.
Just sucks. Right, like I don't think anyone of us or anyone for that matter expected anyone from that cast to like to depart the plane. You know what I mean? Like it was just like whoa.
Well, I was in the car with
my money was on Courtney Cox. I mean, she was looking kind
of fucking course. Well, to be fair, you know what? When I'd seen that news, I was like,
I was going for Lisa Kudrow, but
not the one you want to see go.
Well, to be fair, I'm also a pretty huge Scream fan, so I got a soft spot for Courtney Cox too. I mean,
I don't want to see anybody.
No, I mean, I'm sorry.
I
had a huge crush on her from like Ace Ventura. I mean, come on now.
That's right. She was in that.
In fairness, my absolute favorite crush from that show was without question Jennifer Aniston.
I mean, yeah,
right.
She could have been a good Leia.
Yeah. It's true. She could have been a good Leia. I know exactly what you're referring to.
Yeah, I know. The episode.
Man.
Yeah,
but,
you're right. Yeah. Wow. That one went over my head.
I still love the line after that where Ross is like, I hate Chandler. That bastard ruined my life.
We were on a break.
Gosh, I listen to that show all the time when I'm working. But anyway, with that, we'll go on to, because Andre, you're kind of coming in on fire about what popped off today from an article from Variety. So why don't we pull up that article? I have it here in a tab.
Let's hear the fire, bro.
The fire.
I mean, if this coincides with anything that, you know, Phil's favorite people out there, the My Time to Shines or the Can We Have Some Toast?
It's my time to shine. Hello.
Okay, thank you. I mean, they're talking about a full-on reboot coming up, but let's see what Variety has here from Phil's favorite writer.
That writer being Tatiana Siegel.
Oh, yeah.
He's got her name tattooed across the small of his back.
Small of his back. Oh, wow. So this is a longer article.
That's specific.
Of course, title here saying Crisis at Marvel, Jonathan Majors backup plans, the Marvels reshoots, reviving original Avengers, and more issues revealed. And there was a lot of meat in this article.
That fucking headline right there is straight up. Click on this. It is straight up.
Yeah, Crisis at Marvel, right there.
Click.
I mean, that title is a title that someone would use for like a YouTube video. You know what I mean? Like when you're making a YouTube video, that's your title.
Right.
All the keywords.
But what's crazy is that, you know, a lot of times you have article titles like this and it tends to be extreme hyperbole. This isn't as much. This is like just a pretty good description of what's going on without being too inflammatory or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, it was a major piece enough to where they got artwork done for the piece.
Okay, every time we say major, is that going to be like a like I don't what the fuck is the word I'm looking for here?
Jonathan Majors.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Is it supposed to be like a
pun? Huh?
There we go. Pun. Wow, I'm so tired today.
I know. You of all people can think of pun. Come on.
Major shakeup at Marvel.
Major shakeup. But again, for those who haven't read through the article, I've read through it a couple times today, and
I haven't read it.
The basic gist is that, again, it talks about Jonathan Majors,
Why don't
legal
you read
problems.
It right now, Dawson? Just
Yeah, go right ahead.
All right, I can do that fine. It's just
people are getting off work.
Yeah,
they're having dinner.
Okay.
I'm like,
You
hey,
know,
I'd love to read this.
They got us in the background.
All right, fine. No, don't need to harass me. Let's go. It says here, this past September, a group of Marvel creatives, including studio chief Kevin Feige, assembled in Palm Springs for the studio's annual retreat. Most years, the vibe would have been confident, even cocky, given how the premier superhero brand, owned by Disney since 2009, has remade the entertainment business in its image. But this occasion was angst-ridden. Everyone at Marvel was reeling from a series of disappointments on screen, a legal scandal involving one of its biggest stars, and questions about the viability of the studio's ambitious strategy to extend the brand beyond movies into streaming. The most pressing issue to be discussed at the retreat was what to do about Jonathan Majors, the actor who had been poised to carry the next phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but instead is heading to a high-profile trial in New York later this month on domestic violence charges. The actor insists he is the victim, but the damage to his reputation and the chance he could lose the case has forced Marvel to reconsider its plans to center the next phase of its interlocking slate of sequels, spin-offs, and series around Major's villainous character, Kang the Conqueror. I mean, we're seeing that right now with Loki season 2. I mean, he's
prime antagonist. Well, he's a prime character in that show. Yes.
Right. And then you also, of course, had Quantumania and the build-up and the post-credit scene with that. I mean, you also have the Avengers Kang Dynasty. Right? I mean, everything's centered around him. So now this happens. It kind of goes to the basic lesson of never put all your eggs in one basket.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, but they had no idea that he was going to get into a cell phone fight with his girlfriend and end up inflicting damage on her. I mean,
I'm not saying like they could have predicted this, but like
no, exactly. But I'm just saying that like unfortunately there was no way they saw this coming, and it only makes matters worse.
100%.
Exactly.
Like this is just since the whole Jonathan Majors thing. Since he was arrested in March, that has just been nothing but a huge talking point. No matter what Marvel project has come out since then, it has always come back up in circulation.
Very, very true. Let's continue this here, saying at the gathering in Palm Springs, executives discussed backup plans, including pivoting to another comic book adversary like Doctor Doom. But making any shift would carry its own headaches. Majors was already a big presence in the MCU, including as the scene-stealing antagonist in February's Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And he has been positioned as the franchise's next big thing in this season of Loki, particularly in the finale, which airs on November 9th and sets up Kang as the titular star of a fifth Avengers film in 2026. And I gotta say, like, this image, I feel like, speaks very clearly as to what's going on right now. I mean,
absolutely.
A bunch of characters that nobody really knows.
Yeah, people like kind of walking
cares.
away. Yeah, people just walking away, not really caring anymore and taking their business elsewhere. And it kind of goes back to a lot of things we've been discussing in previous episodes where like people are kind of just not really caring anymore. Turnout for a lot of these things is not there. But let's continue. Marvel is truly effed with the whole Kang angle, says one top deal maker who has seen the final Loki episode. And they haven't had an opportunity to rewrite until very recently because of the WGA strike. Very, very true. But I don't see a path to how they move forward with him. And that's the thing, too, is like they're in crisis mode.
That's opinion. Overruled.
Well, like they're in kind of crisis mode, but they can't really, until recently, they couldn't really do anything about it because of the writer's strike, which, again, makes it to where you're set back so much further. Beyond the bad press for Majors, the brain trust at Marvel is also grappling with the November release of The Marvels, a sequel to 2019's blockbuster Captain Marvel that has been plagued with lengthy reshoots and now appears likely to underwhelm at the box office.
Yep.
I mean, we saw what
version of Flash,
like reports of what 65 to 80 million in its opening weekend. Maybe
it's not good.
Dude, it got 55 million its opening weekend.
Oh, geez.
The Flash did. However,
the Flash. Yeah.
Right. But with the Marvels, they're screwed in terms of promotion as long as this actor strike continues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another great point.
And the thing is, even if this strike wraps up by either end of today, tomorrow, or even end of the week, it doesn't fucking matter. The only press that the actors are going to get is at the red carpet. And that's going to be too little too late.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be too late because at that point, people have already kind of made their decision on whether or not they're going to be going to that movie or not.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how many cars Brie Larson sells. It's not going to make them, or it's not going to get them out of the red.
She isn't like every other car commercial, it feels like.
She was.
You know,
yeah.
it's like looking back on that, man. I wish they would have gone with a different actress, but I mean, they did what they did, and they don't have a choice. They
Yeah.
got to stick with her now. I mean, shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it really sucks for Mon Villani because I think she's only been promoting the comic that she wrote for Marvel, the Miss Marvel comic that she
Right.
wrote, and that's about the extent of promotion she can do. And even then, that's not even tying directly into the movie. That's specifically catered to that comic, if not Marvel Comics proper.
Right.
Which just sucks, you know.
Exactly. Continuing on here, it says, this is all an unprecedented turn of fortune for a company that has enjoyed a nearly uninterrupted string of hits ever since it started independently producing its movies with 2008's Iron Man. That wildly profitable run culminated in the $2.8 billion success of 2019's Avengers Endgame, a high watermark for the studio that has earned nearly $30 billion over 32 films, which is just insane. That's just ridiculous. Let's be honest here. And, you know, I go back to something that I said a while back. I can't remember the exact quote, but I remember saying something to the extent of these movies have had such ridiculous success, and that is something that's incredibly hard to have continue.
Yes.
Like, things have to fall perfectly for you in order to keep that streak going. And as Hollywood goes and as history goes, it's just not something that's going to happen. You know, the fact that it went for what, 15, 20 years as it did is a miracle in and of itself.
Well,
So
yeah, because
Endgame-
it was fertile ground. It was new. They were doing what the other studios weren't able to do, and they were playing catch up, or they're trying to, like, cut corners and try to get where they were or whatever.
Dark Universe from Universal being
Exactly. And, like, you know, I think that, you know, they've gone down that rabbit hole, as you guys have said, and you've got your, you know, tier 2 characters and the tier 3 characters, and it's like, I'm sorry, but people really are kind of waking up to, like, okay, I really don't care too much about these new characters.
Right.
I really want the characters that I grew up with that you guys aren't doing anymore. And I mean, minus Thor, you know, I mean, you know, the last movie, you know, kind of like showed me that, you know, okay, you guys really need to revamp Thor. So I mean, look, I'm ready for a new Captain America. I'm ready for a new Wolverine. Been ready for fucking ever for them to, you know, cast a new person to play, you know, Logan. I think that they would serve better for, you know, doing other things instead of just saying, hey, you know what, we're stuck in this thing and let's just ride it out until we beat the dead horse until it's completely useless.
Well, I think the thing too, you bring up the idea of having these second or third tier characters, and like, you could make that work if you actually put in the energy and love into it that you did with the first ones. Like when you wrote Iron Man and Captain America, the first Avenger.
The thing is, I agree with a little bit of that, but also you've got to get people to want it or invest their time and energy. Whereas with Iron Man or Spider-Man or, you know, these other Incredible Hulk, you know, that's already built in. You don't have to do too much. Like, oh, who's Moon Knight? I don't know. Batman with a splash of, you know, Black Panther. Or who's Black Panther? I don't know. Batman with a splash of, you know, Spider-Man. I don't know. But I mean, you've got these characters that are not as well known. Not, you know, they're not your tier 1 characters. And you've got to do a little bit more for your audience to kind of entice them to want to spend the money, time, and effort into, like, giving a crap about the character.
Which they did to some extent with some of the characters, like Black Panther. You just mentioned him. He wasn't very well known, but then became kind of a mainstream name with how they handled the Black Panther movie and his introduction in Civil War. Like, there was actual care and love put into that production to where, you know, there was actually creative juices flowing. And real quick, want to thank Baptiste 702 for his $5 super chat. Much appreciated, man. Here's your explosion. Here says, this is what happens when you reject comic continuity and well thought out stories. That part with well thought out stories, absolutely agree. In favor of modern day ideologies. I think he's referring to the Blade rumor about how they were handling that movie.
No blood on screen.
Yeah.
I think it's important to also remember that in a post-Endgame world, in a post-COVID world, Disney didn't really help themselves by setting up a lot of these smaller characters on Disney Plus as flagships for that service. And then on top of the fact, you factor in that service in and of itself, and people are now just looking at Marvel movies like, I'll just wait for it to hit Disney Plus. I mean, look at what happened with Ant-Man Quantumania. It fucking fumbled at the box office after its second week, and people watched it immediately after on Disney Plus. The only Marvel movie that people have flown out to see in theaters was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and that's specifically because it was a trilogy capper. It was the last film Gunn was going to do, and it was also like it was the closest thing they had to an event, right?
Yeah.
Like the biggest splash superhero movie that people are still talking about to this day for this calendar year is Across the Spider-Verse. And it's not even a live action superhero film. It's an animated one.
And was mentioned before was the Majors, his character, Kang,
right,
in Ant-Man. Well, the only reason why he was such a standout character because he was the only one that was really developed. Everything else was just kind of haphazard, and it wasn't a good movie.
It wasn't a good movie, but he was the best part in that movie.
That's what I'm saying. That's
Absolutely.
the reason why. Like, if it had been a fantastic movie and they'd done all this extra stuff and he was just kind of there, I don't think he would have had such an impact on the Marvel community as a whole because his character benefited from a subpar movie.
Not only that, like if you look at the other two Ant-Man movies in comparison to Quantumania, the other two Ant-Man movies are pretty small heist-based movies.
Yeah.
This one is just a straight-up CGI slugfest in a CGI world, and we're just using this movie as a catapult to introduce our new big bad. And it's like, well, you guys already kind of did that with a really beloved TV show in Loki, which people were and still to this day watch because, wait for it, you had an established character given another story, a very powerful character arc that he got to work through in that show. And that's the other flip side of this is like, you look at the stuff on Disney Plus and what worked in their favor. Look at Loki, look at WandaVision, look at fucking Falcon and Winter Soldier. All three of those shows, people talked about them and are like, okay, we want to see what happens next from this. And then we ended up getting Multiverse of Madness. We're getting a new Captain America movie sometime next year. People are saying it's probably going to take the slot that Deadpool had May 3rd, which it wouldn't shock me at all if that happened. And then you factor in Loki. What did Loki do? It literally gave you what Quantumania was supposed to do for the general audiences at the movie theater. It gave us fucking King the Conqueror, even though he wasn't technically called King the Conqueror. He was He Who Remains. But even still, like, that introducing your biggest bad in a TV show as opposed to a movie, when you're trying to have it the same both ways, is just like, you got to be stronger with your films at that point, especially with what they did with Ant-Man Quantumania. And that's why that film fumbled as hard as it did, because people are like, well, the fans are like, well, yeah, we already fucking know he's here, so what's the point of having another version of him here if he's just going to be kind of doing not necessarily more of the same, but we're just seeing okay, we know he's got variants. This is variant. Okay, we knew that. Hoopity ha.
And kind of going on your comments, this next paragraph kind of goes into that a little bit, saying replicating that kind of phenomenon is never easy. However, the source of Marvel's current troubles can be traced back to 2020. That's when the COVID pandemic ushered in a mandate to help boost Disney's stock price with an endless torrent of interconnected Marvel content for the studio's fledgling streaming platform, Disney Plus. According to the plan, there would never be a lapse in superhero fare with either a film in theaters or a new television series streaming at any given moment. And that's the thing, too. Oversaturation is a real thing. When you oversaturate the market, because like we've talked about this before, back in the day, you had like maybe one or two Marvel films in a year, tops. And it was something you looked forward to. It was something that every couple of months you had something that's like, okay, the next thing is this. You didn't get burned out. And that's the problem. When you have constant streaming of information and content from one specific source, you get burned out by it. You get bored of it almost to an extent. And that's exactly what they're talking about here.
Look at their calendar year for 2021. They had Black Widow in May, they had Shang-Chi in September, then they had Eternals in November, and then directly after that in December, they had Spider-Man No Way Home. Granted, Spider-Man is a completely different conversation because it's, it's a Sony and Marvel Studios thing, but even still, the point stands. 4 movies in that calendar year, then you couple in all of the TV shows they had. They had WandaVision, fucking Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, and What If in that same year. That's 8 projects total.
And some of them were good. Like obviously, No Way Home, loved it, right?
Same.
It wasn't like it was all bad or anything like that, but it's just too much. It's too much to keep track of, especially in a universe where
it's a lot. Yeah. I mean, when you put that much content onto Disney Plus and then expect all the viewers to really follow along on the platform, then in the theater, it's a lot. I think that if you would have put, doing the characters like Moon Knight on Disney Plus, to me, that wasn't that bad. That was fine. But when you don't ever show them again, like, where has he been? Where has that character been?
Right.
Where's Shang-Chi? Where has he been? The Eternals, what's happening with them? There's so much disconnection because you're oversaturating your market with all these new characters. Like, I'm sorry, but like She-Hulk, that was unnecessary. There was a lot of characters that were just unnecessary to have, that you're just diluting people's memories on what happened again, or what happened with this. And so it becomes, instead of being like, okay, I'm getting quality, detailed, great writing, good content, to just like, I've eaten so much, I'm so full that all I want to do is just shut my eyes. You know what I mean?
Like, it went from back in the day, you introduced a character, you really built them up, and then when they appeared later, like, oh yeah, there's this character that I really like. But now in a future movie, you're like, oh, is that Scar? Is that Hulk's kid from that one thing? Okay,
Scar.
whatever.
Yeah, it's like, why introduce his son? That was like, whoa, what are we doing here? And then, like, you know, the idea that, you know, that Loki and the TVA could be going, you know, creating their own version of like of the Avengers, or just like a massive hero team and all that. I mean, that's a cool idea, but that should have been going from like last year.
Yeah,
that should have been what, you know, where we're kind of building to. It's taken so long to get to where we like. It's taken so long to get to the point. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And
I
we're
think
gonna find out finally next year, which is like, what?
But not only that, like,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
like
Go ahead,
looking at the 2022 calendar year, you had Doctor Strange, you had what was after Thor, Love and Thunder, and then there was also Wakanda Forever. Absolute waste of a movie, 100%. But then you also factor in, as Dawson mentioned, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, and Moon Knight. People really latched on to Miss Marvel for one reason or another, and they also kind of latched on to Moon Knight for one reason or another. But at the same time, to Dawson's point, like, where the fuck is Moon Knight? When is he going to show up anywhere else? Like,
is he going to show up?
Huh?
You know what I mean, like, is he going to show up?
Yeah,
or is
like,
he just a character you introduced, and it was like, yeah,
I really agree with RJ's point here. Like, RJ and I disagree on plenty of things, but this is one that I really agree with. It's becoming like comic books, overcomplicated and too bloated, so it's turning off the casual audience. Like, diehards will watch all day long because they have a commitment to a logo and a brand and certain characters. But the general audience, that's harder to retain, especially the further you dive into the sort of, I guess, mass amount of characters that each of these brands have, including Marvel. And, you know, you mentioned having too much stuff at the same time. That's the same thing that's said in this paragraph, saying, but the ensuing tsunami of spandex proved to be too much of a good thing, well, too much of a mediocre thing in some movies' cases. And the demands of churning out so much programming taxed the Marvel apparatus. Moreover, the need to tease out an interwoven storyline over so many disparate shows, movies, and platforms created a muddled narrative that baffled viewers. The Marvel machine was pumping out a lot of content. That's, to put it lightly. But did it get to the point where there was just too much and they were burning people out on superheroes? It's possible, says Wall Street analyst Eric Handler, who covers Disney. The more you do, the tougher it is to maintain quality. They tried experimenting with breaking into some new characters like Shang-Chi, the Eternals, like we just mentioned, with mixed results.
Shang-Chi being a positive result, Eternals being a negative result.
With budgets as big as these, you need home runs because they spent a crap ton on these movies.
Yes, they did.
A ton of movies, or a ton of money. And again, the return is just not consistent enough. The Marvels, which opens in theaters on November 10th, will struggle to get past the ball past infield, at least by Marvel's outside.
They sell
standards.
more in merchandise than anything else. I mean,
yeah,
I'm sorry, but the box office really doesn't matter. It's I'm sorry, it looks nice and it's all, you know, buzz and talk and all that shit, but the fucking money is like George Lucas. It's merchandising.
It's all about the merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing too, that especially with Marvel, that's the thing that's frustrated me is like I'm a Marvel fan to an extent. Like, I like a lot of the characters, but you mentioned the merchandise, right? That's actually one category that DC has been destroying Marvel with over the past couple of years is toy merchandise, collectibles, the quality of them. There's plenty quantity of Marvel figures out there, but in my opinion, whenever I see them, I'm not tempted to buy them.
They pale in comparison to the DC McFarlane stuff.
Yes,
more often than not.
Exactly. And it got to the point where they make so many of these figures and they're all cheap. Like, I go to these like different nerdy stores or like toy stores or whatever, and I'll see a whole wall of Marvel stuff. Nothing is appealing to me as far as quality of sculpt, paint, or whatever. And then I'll go to like the McFarlane boxes. It's just so much more tempting to me, you know? Right. And anyway, so with that, where did I end up here? Okay,
it's almost funny because, you know, we're talking on the subject of quality, and it's like you can almost see where Marvel is diverting a lot of their attention to in terms of making sure something. Case in point, Loki season 2. No one has said a bad thing about season 2 thus far. Matter of fact, the last episode literally left everybody fucking mind blown to the point where we're like, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? Like, they want to know. But then you look at what's next on the docket, the Marvels, people are like, and it sucks. It really sucks because you've got, again, as I mentioned earlier, Iman Vellani, who's coming off of Miss Marvel. And there's one instance of them finally being like, okay, we have a new character introduced here. We're bringing him back. Cool. Do that more. And they're also doing it again with Teyonah Parris's character, Monica Rambeau. And it's like, yes, this is why we like Marvel. This is why we like the MCU. But the fact of the matter that we're having this happen with a movie like the Marvels that has apparently a budget of $250 million, when a couple weeks ago it was just announced the budget was fucking $200 million minus the tax incentive they got from filming it. It's just insane. It's there are a lot of other factors that are going into why certain projects are flourishing and other ones are floundering.
Very true. And this, I've seen this comment here, the sentiment from, Junkie Public here says, man, the MCU will be fine. And I've seen that. I want an explanation on define fine.
Right.
Define what it means to be fine. Are you just staying afloat? Are you just making more and more movies? Or do you mean that they'll go back to being the top dog as far as quality as well as money making is concerned? That's my question. Are they just going to skate by? Or are they going to actually, dominate again? I
think that when you say, man, they'll be fine, they're still doing it better than anyone else. I mean, who's everyone else? I mean, who's their direct competition right now? I mean, you really don't have much of a competition coming from DC. You don't have much competition coming from anybody else. Amazon, right? But I mean, that's a whole different market in the sense of the shit that they're putting out. So
they're having to compete with themselves with Sony in the Spider-Verse.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, but the thing too is that, like, logo. Here's the thing: is that Disney in general, when it comes to both the MCU and the Star Wars, they oversaturated their own market, and so how did that also backfire on them? Was that these VFX houses were overworked to the extreme? Not to mention they're also contracted to do work for the DC movies, for the other special effects movies that are coming out. And so now you have shoddy CGI in all these movies and all these shows because they're just trying to pump this shit out. And it makes you kind of wonder too, like when you look back at DC and remember how it was like the year of heroes and they said, okay, that's all going to come out next year. If it almost kind of feels like, if that was Marvel, they would have just said, yeah, we're just going to, stick to our guns and release these films with shoddy CGI, because at the end of the day, as long as they buy the merchandise and buy the shit, we'll be fine.
It's just like the Star Wars.
Right, exactly. But however, when it comes to the box office, it does reflect negatively upon their brand in the sense that when you look at their box office results, that does say something about their brand. And so in terms of brand recognition and the value of their brand, it does, in my opinion, it does have an effect on that. And that's something that they don't want to lose.
Well, eventually it does catch up to them. In that, like, the fans are the ones buying the merchandise, right? So the fans are the ones investing. They're the ones giving the subscriptions and all that shit. So eventually the fans are gonna be like, all right, I've had enough of this subpar content, and then they start, getting on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, and voicing their opinion, and other people, like, hey, yeah, I agree with that person or whatever. And here's what I think about that as well. And they'll leave comments and shit. But eventually, word does get back, when they say, hey, you know what, let's, if this isn't working, we can try something else. You'll have, some people try to stick to their guns. Like, Andre was, had mentioned earlier, if it was Disney releasing, the Year of the Heroes, they just would have released it, because like I was saying, it was kind of like episode 9 in Star Wars. They were just like, just get to the next beat, get to the next beat, get to the next beat. Don't worry about it. Don't slow down. Let's go. We have an end goal, which is the next Avengers movie or Secret Wars or whatever the fuck. Let's hurry up and get to that, because I know people will like that. All this other shit, that's Miss Marvel and Moon Knight and all this other stuff that we're releasing, She-Hulk and all that. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, once we get to Secret Wars, there's the payoff. Yeah. Watch all this subpar content, but hopefully by then we'll have gotten our act together and gave you something good to watch.
Yeah, well, and I'll say, go ahead, Andre.
Well, and I was gonna say, and if you look at the run that they've been on for the past year 15, and a half, ever since Endgame, let's put it that way. ever since Endgame, right? You know, you can tell that the pandemic had a huge effect on them. You can tell that their initial plan of having Spider-Man, Black Panther, and Captain Marvel be the new Trinity for Marvel, how that blew up in their faces. You know, the negative reception they got from Brie Larson being Captain Marvel.
There's that.
The Chadwick Boseman dying,
Boseman passing,
unfortunately,
right?
and that was
And
sad.
then
And then
there was
the whole
the
Sony
divorce.
Marvel.
Right, the divorce after Far From Home, and then them
Exactly.
finally being like, yeah, maybe we should do another third one. It's like, yeah, no shit.
And
You
so
kind of
because
need
of
to.
that, and because of that, the pandemic and the fact that they've had to kind of retune what they were actually going to do, you can see that because lately it's been on like, you know, it's just treading water. And you can kind of see that, like kind of like, okay, we're just kind of treading water in the MCU because we don't actually know where we're going. You could tell because there is no overall narrative that everything's heading to. If they had a strong story, a strong arc that they were heading to, then at the end of each show, there would have been something that leads to the next thing. Like at the end of what do you call it? Moon Knight. It wasn't like, oh, is that, are we leading to Kang? Are we leading? No, it was just a bunch of stories that didn't really have a huge payoff at the end of each one of them. And that was a trademark that they had essentially, you know, done for every one of their movies for the 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, they were slowly, after every movie that was a standalone movie, at the very end, you know, that end credits. Thank you. The end credits, it was, they were always like introducing some character that sort of like built to something else. But you could see like after Endgame, it was like, I don't know where you want to go. Like, we could do, you know, Kang probably was like just a talking point in a boardroom versus like, okay, this is where we're going after this, you know, and this is a clear, because it just kind of felt like, you know, like Andre was saying, is that, you know, after Endgame, all these other shows that came out, whether it was like the Scarlet Witch show or anything after that, it didn't really allude to like where's the story going on a macro level. You know,
they got really lucky after Infinity War when Disney bought Fox, because then they regained the rights to the characters that people have wanted them to have for years. In this case, also, Kang falls into that category. For the longest time, people were clamoring for Kang the Conqueror to show up in the MCU, but couldn't because he's technically a Fantastic Four character. That's where he was originated from.
Right. But still, I mean, it just feels like those things, and then the writer's strike that's happening now, like this is like the worst thing that could have happened in terms of like getting their ship corrected in terms of where they want to go. And for me, ever since Endgame, it's been a lot of treading water. Because even when you got like No Way Home, which was a great movie, and I even liked Multiverse of Madness, it still didn't direct you in a direction where it was like, okay, I see where we're going next. You know, Spider-Man ended with Spider-Man being, you know, unknown to everybody else and being in New York with his classic Spider-Man suit, and it was like cool. And then we didn't see him again because we don't know what's happening because they're working through contracts, they're trying to figure that shit out. So there wasn't like a clear plan, but they were able to execute early on. Now it's starting to feel like, okay, the execution is not as precise as it once was. When you have a movie like The Marvels, looks fun. Am I going to go see it in theater? Probably not. I'm going to wait till Disney Plus comes. You know, it comes out on Disney Plus. Shang-Chi, fun movie, but I wasn't running to the theater to go see it.
Right.
The Eternals, I didn't really care. I watched it, but it wasn't like I got to go see the Eternals now. So you're talking about characters that don't raise the bar. And the problem is that they burned all the good characters with their first run because they kind of had to. They didn't have the X-Men in time to do this.
Right.
Or Fantastic Four. So they're like, okay, let's go with these guys. And then nobody cares about them because they're not as popular as those other characters. Now that they have the X-Men, I think the reason why you're getting Secret Wars is because you're going to resurrect, essentially, the Fox X-Men for this last run to Secret Wars, and then you reboot everything. You have to reboot. And the fact that they're redoing Daredevil Born Again, from scratch, tells me that Kevin Feige is like, hey, hold on, stop. We're not doing this anymore. Pump the brakes on this shit. I got to make sure that this show aligns with our reboot after Secret Wars because it has to exist moving forward.
Yeah. And I'll say this before I start reading more of the article, but kind of going back to, you know, Endgame and building up to that. And then afterwards, they've been kind of just, like Andre said, treading water. The reason I feel like that is because I I sincerely believe that Marvel did not fully expect, to get to Endgame, because again, who had done that before? Who had built up a 20-film saga that led up to something and that culminated in such an epic finish like that? No one had ever done that. And so they're just like, okay, let's get to this. Let's build up to this specific thing. There was a goal in mind. And so when it actually happened, they're like, oh, well, okay, we did it. Holy cow, we actually pulled that off. Now what's next? And so you're trying to figure out how to do something quickly to kind of replicate what you had done over a 20-year span, which is just, or I guess a 10-year span, really. And it's just really hard to replicate that, like I've said before. But continue with the article. Oh, sorry, Phil, go ahead.
Just real quick. I think, honestly, the thing that might have bit them in the ass just a little bit as well is not having an Avengers film at the end of Phase 4. And not even, like, call it Avengers for tomorrow, call it Young Avengers, whatever. I truly think that was also an appeal to the MCU, was having an Avengers film cap off any phase that they were building to.
Yeah.
Now, that said, you could have done an Avengers film where you included, say Moon Knight, where you included, Black Panther, the new Black Panther, Captain Marvel, Spider-Man again, and have them face, like, I don't know, a Nihilus, someone galactic, where you can bring back the Guardians of the Galaxy also, or some members of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm not really sure, but my main point is, I think really what bit them in the ass a little bit too is not having an Avengers film feel like a culmination for their phase that they had for the first 3 phases. I think.
Well, I mean, they could have also done like a Civil War.
True.
It didn't have. I mean, something like that where you include the characters and they meet, and you're like, oh wow, look, there's some synergy. There's banter. They're creating.
Right. It was just project after project after project,
and they were all isolated.
All isolated. I mean, to be honest, look, Guardians of the Galaxy Part 3 or Volume 3, it felt like that was separate from the MCU.
It did,
to an extent, yeah.
It felt like, I was watching a James Gunn production, but that was it. Like that didn't have much connection to really anything else. It didn't feel like that led to the next chapter in the MCU. It just felt like that's the Guardians. We're done, and now
here's the team. Now, have fun.
Enjoy the ride.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so let's continue with this article real quick. Here it says, the Marvels, which opens in theaters on November 10th, will struggle to get the ball past the infield, at least by Marvel's outside standards. The movie, which cost $250 million and sees Brie Larson reprising her role as Captain Marvel, is tracking to open to $75 million to $80 million, far below the $185 million Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness took in domestically in its debut weekend last year. And this is also kind of interesting because it has a really high budget, but it's also the shortest MCU film, which is not good by any standard. It says here, directed by Nia DaCosta, The Marvels unites Larson's heroine with 2 superpowered allies, Teyonah Parris as Monica Rambeau, introduced in the 2021 Disney Plus series WandaVision, and Iman Vellani's Kamala Khan, first seen in the 2022 series Miss Marvel. But instead of seamlessly building on the success of Captain Marvel, this movie resulted in 4 weeks of reshoots to bring coherence to a tangled storyline. Then eyebrows were raised again when DaCosta began working on another film while The Marvels was still in post-production. This is something I didn't know to this article. The filmmaker moved to London earlier this year to begin prepping for her Tessa Thompson drama, Hedda. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. A representative for DaCosta declined to comment. If you're directing a 250... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
The legitimacy of that, to me, feels murky. Because as we know, Tatiana Siegel is not always brutally honest when it comes to getting her information. And if Nia DaCosta's representative declined to comment, that tells me, no, you're getting some shit wrong here. You should really double check what you're saying. But Tatiana probably went, nah, fuck it. I'm going to put it out there anyway. But that's just my opinion on that section specifically.
Continuing here, says, if you're directing a $250 million movie, it's kind of weird for the director to leave with a few months to go. Says a source familiar with the production. Again, like you said, Phil, this part kind of seems a little more murky.
Creative differences.
The Marvels has seen its release date moved back twice. 2 wants to swap places with Quantumania, which was deemed further along, and again, when its debut shifted from July to November to give the filmmakers more time to tinker. But that extra time didn't necessarily help. In June, Marvel, which traditionally only solicits feedback from Disney employees and their friends and families, took the uncharacteristic step of holding a public test screening in Texas. The audience gave the film middling reviews. And they even have more art right here, which just shows like how long they'd waited to like post this article. They took some time with this.
Now, only 2 of those 4 characters are even still in the MCU, quote, alive,
Yes.
quote, unquote. You know what I mean?
True.
And even then, they've both been kind of turned into clowns.
They
more or
really
less.
have.
That's
Thor
true.
more so than Hulk, in my opinion.
Very true. But Marvel has never been in the business of being average. Kevin's real superpower, his genius, has always been in post-production and getting his hands on movies and making sure that they finished strongly, the source adds. Quote, these days, he's spread thin. Feige declined to comment for this story. Again, some more...
Of course he did. Why would he want to talk to her?
Right.
Just saying.
Feige isn't the only person showing signs of strain. And this goes into something we've heard a lot about over the past couple months. Marvel's entire VFX battalion, including staffers and vendors, is struggling to keep pace with a never-ending stream of productions. This past February, when the credits rolled at the world premiere of Quantumania, shock rippled through the Regency Village Theater in Westwood over some shoddy CGI. Hey, I lived there in Westwood. There were at least 10 scenes where the visual effects had been added at the last minute and were out of focus, says one veteran power broker who was there. Quote, it was insane. I've never seen something like that in my entire career. Everyone was talking about it. Even the kids of executives were talking about it. The schedule swap.
Wild.
Yeah.
That is wild. That the fact that you had this movie out before you could even get a final polish on it. That is just lazy.
That just shows the emphasis over deadlines and just releasing content over quality.
Right.
Which
and let's
is
also not forget, like, they let go Victoria Alonso directly after this movie came out too.
Yeah, true. It says here, this thing keeps blocking my way. The schedule swap with the Marvels had left the Ant-Man sequel in a squeeze, pushing up its post-production schedule by 4.5 months, which is ridiculous. Marvel films are known for coming down to the wire, given Feige's ability to, quote, foam the runway and land a plane that way, says one executive familiar with how the company operates. But this level of unfinished was unprecedented and would be noted in scathing reviews when the tentpole with a $200 million budget opened 11 days after the premiere. Critics weren't the only ones dismayed. Fed up with 14-hour days and no overtime, Marvel VFX workers voted unanimously to unionize in September, sparking an industry-wide trend. I mean, 14-hour days and no overtime, that's
not cool at all.
That's
that would
not cool.
piss me off.
In any industry, period, bar none.
Yeah.
You pay your people overtime after 8 hours,
It's
especially
like
in California.
When I worked in manufacturing, like we had, especially during the winter season, like I was making heaters. In the winter season, we were booked. Like we were working 12-hour days. And there were some weeks where we had to work 7 days a week. And we got, the only thing that made it rewarding was overtime.
Yep.
You know, time and a half pay, which was great. It made it, it still sucked, but it made it to where I was actually compensated for more of my time. And that's just how it freaking works. And if you don't pay that overtime, that's just, that pisses me off. I feel for those guys.
Yeah, but I'm, going over that, people were talking about, but that bad, visual effects, 4.5 months. That wasn't for me. And I'm huge into CG and, post-production and all that. That wasn't the struggle that the Ant-Man movie had for me. It was just, it just wasn't a good movie.
Yeah, the writing wasn't great.
I can forgive bad visual effects.
See, I have a harder time doing so. If a movie,
I can forgo that. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to look pristine. If it's a good film, I can, like, there are movies that I go back and I watch and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't notice that. That's horrible. But I loved it at the time because I was able to turn that off, to shut that off.
A lot of those movies that I'm sure you're referring to, like that are older films, were more products of their time, so you can excuse it for that reason. But like for me, I look at films like, for instance, the CGI in both the Amazing Spider-Man movies, 2011, 2012, or even Pirates of the Caribbean with Davy Jones, right? We had that technology back then, and now all of a sudden we look at CGI nowadays, and CGI is just atrocious in comparison. And it's like, we know we're capable of making these good quality productions. So for me, when I watch a movie like this and the CGI is shoddy, that tells me, one major thing. They did not care enough to polish this. And if they didn't care enough to polish this product, why should I care enough about it to give them more of my money about that? Like, as far as this product is concerned, why should that fall on me if they're not willing to put in the time to do that? Because at the end of the day, movies are a visual art form. And if you can't impress me with the visuals, then what are you doing? That's my main thing.
Going to Ryan's point about forgiving a movie with bad CGI, case in point, Black Adam.
Yeah.
I like the movie a lot. But let's be real, like that movie does not have some good looking shots.
Sabak looks
Sure.
awful.
No, I agree.
It's not
it could've
great.
been a
But
lot
it was
better.
entertaining. It wasn't the greatest film, but I still had a good time watching it. I enjoyed it for what it was, and that's kind of it, and I leave it at that. And I mean,
Black Adam had the ultimate ending scene where it was like, wow, this leads to nothing.
Yeah.
well, I'm
Never
okay.
even announced.
So
It was
are
like, why
you
even
talking about
have
Black
it?
Adam, or are you talking about everything that Marvel has released on Disney Plus?
Both.
Both. Black Adam at the end of the movie, the end credit scene, I was like, oh, that's great.
Yeah,
That
it
led to
leads
nothing. Shazam,
Yes,
Fear of the
it's
Gods.
it's
That
been
was
over
even
a year
worse. That
since
was
he
the
got
one they
the
should have
boot.
got rid of. Shazam, Fear of the Gods. They should have got rid of the end credit scene because it served no purpose. It was like, why even have that?
Yeah.
Man, I think about that movie and my brain just starts to hurt. How the hell do you have the same writer on the first Shazam movie and the second Shazam movie, and there's almost literally no coherency whatsoever, and you literally recycle the same fucking post-credit scene?
Oh, I was going
How
to
do
get
you-
you the post
How
Oh
do
my
you
God.
create?
was
How do
bad.
you create your own villains and
Ugh.
not use villains from the source
From DC
material?
Comics.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what the
How
fuck?
do you not have Black Adam as his villain until
It's like
The
we
Rock,
have
like, fuck
decades
you?
of characters that we've been writing. I'd like to come up with something fresh.
Yeah, that was just
I
an
mean, to
all
be honest,
bad mistake
dude, I'm
right
telling
there.
you, like, to be honest, in the first Shazam movie, like, I get Dr. Sivana, but in reality, that should have been Black Adam as his villain in the first movie.
Sure.
It should have been Black Adam. That's his main villain.
I go back
And then
forth
you
on
could have
that, but I
branched
see your
off
point.
to your, but then you could have branched off to your
built
Black
up to
Adam
him,
movie.
like introduce him, in the first Shazam movie, but they don't meet. You just kind of build that up.
Mhm.
And,
know?
and let's not forget this.
Oh yeah.
The Flash,
Flash had
effects was
disgusting
horrible.
visual effects at the end, and
Well,
it
you
was
They
also-
got
stupid.
an extra
The whole-
year.
that whole
They got
multiverse
they
shit
got
with the
an
balls,
extra fucking
dumb.
year. They got an extra year to make that. An
Yeah, and
extra
we also
year.
was.
saw a story that just popped up about Nicolas Cage saying he went and filmed for like 3 hours and then they just CGI'd over everything.
Yeah,
It's just like, man, you only had him there for 3 hours. Like, holy
All the
crap!
time
That's
he
just,
had. He's like, oh, I'm busy.
He's
you know,
like,
I'm busy being
I
the
can
Ghost
film
Rider in
3
my
hours,
dreams.
If all you're gonna do is take it and put
I
it
mean,
in for
this
3
is
minutes.
the same team that worked on Zack Snyder's Justice League, did the Flash. Now,
Yeah.
granted, when they did
that
Zack
was a
Snyder's
big
Justice
selling
League, but granted, when they did Justice League, half their work was already done. They already
Yeah.
had the previous shit already in place. You know what I mean? So they had work already done for that movie. But when you look at the Flash, you're like, holy shit! Why waste the time to do that fucking baby scene and the resources on that?
Thank you.
When you could have put that time and resource and effort and money into such better scenes and more scenes that should have been in that film. Not to mention, they show a cut scene where young Flash, phases into that room and he sees the pod
Supergirl suit. Yeah, the pod.
that she crashed in, the suit on the wall. To me, I was like, dude, why wasn't this in the movie? This is
Yeah.
more important than seeing the fucking babies. That
Yeah.
that was just like, hey, come on.
And again, a lot of it just goes down to VFX. So with that, let's continue this paragraph here. The year 2023 was the straw that broke
They
the
did
camel's
start
back.
with young actors. They're kids, and now they're like,
Yeah,
now they're in
Now
their
they're teenagers.
Well, they
30s.
waited
Now
too
they're-
long
now
to
they're
film the
almost adult.
sequel.
Yeah.
They waited way too long.
yeah.
Says
I
here,
agree.
says former Marvel Studios VFX assistant coordinator Anna George, who appeared before the Congressional Labor Caucus on October 19th to testify about the studio's untenable deadlines and working conditions. Quote, the pay and long hours at Marvel were the reason we had to start our unionization process there. The conditions were completely unsustainable.
100%.
Disney's top brass, including newly returned CEO Bob Iger, was said to be apoplectic about Marvel's VFX troubles. 1 month after the Quantumania premiere debacle, the guillotine fell on Victoria Alonso, who oversaw the studio's physical production, post-production, VFX, and animation.
Right.
While the reason cited for abrupt firing was her unauthorized role as an executive producer on the Oscar-nominated film Argentina in 1995, insiders say Disney was incensed that quality control on its Marvel productions was plummeting, particularly on the ever-expanding TV front. The VFX logjam had been evident for some time, with some final effects for such Disney Plus series as WandaVision and She-Hulk Attorney at Law, inserted after their streaming debuts. That Alonso was busy promoting her art house project, while Rome Byrne certainly didn't sit well with Disney's leadership. Alonso's attorney says her client is unable to comment. So a lot of unable to comments here, of course. There's many reasons for that.
Oh yeah, they're not going to comment with these guys.
of course
But
not.
the fact
Get
they're just like,
lost.
oh, hey, we're demanding a lot of these projects to be, made in this amount of time. and so you can't deliver. Oh, I mean, it must be your fault, or maybe your demands are too high. Just saying, maybe that's the case. But let's continue. But some internal sources suggest Alonso was a scapegoat and point to the She-Hulk VFX issues as a symptom of a deeper rot, namely a lack of oversight on script development. In the original arc of She-Hulk, a flashback of star Tatiana Maslany's transformation into her whole character didn't take place until episode 8, the penultimate episode. But after Marvel's Brain Trust watched footage, it realized the scene needed to happen in the pilot episode so that the audiences could see more of the character's backstory early. That meant that the VFX team was tasked with fixing the mess in post-production. The so-called bad VFX, which is bad VFX, we see it was because of half-baked scripts, says one person involved with She-Hulk. That is not Victoria, that is Kevin. And even above Kevin, those issues should be addressed in pre-production. The timeline is not allowing the Marvel executives to sit with the material. And that's a good point. Again, a lot of it comes down to, again, the demands that these studio executives have for their workers. You can't demand to have 3 shows come out in a span of, 6 months and expect all of them to just be polished, and when they have such time crunch to get things done. It's ridiculous.
Well, I think that line is also very pertinent because it says and above Kevin, because let's also remember at the time Kevin was answering to Bob Chapek, and Bob Chapek was like, do it now. You know, so he was in it. I'm not defending him. I'm just saying he was in a really tight position. He's like, we got to do what the boss says because he's the one giving us the money. You know what I mean?
Right. And I like what Sean says here. I feel comic book movies originally came across as passion projects, which ultimately broke the doors down for the rinse and repeat approach by execs to make just make money and sacrifice story
100%.
effects, etc. Absolutely true. I mean,
100%.
You could tell, especially with the Iron Man movies, Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, the X-Men movies, there was passion behind that. I mean, to an extent.
X-Men movies probably not, but
the first two.
Spider-Man.
I don't know about that. Bryan Singer calling those things a passion project. I don't know about that, but that's just me.
I mean, but you could tell there was more care and time put into them than what we have nowadays. I think that's the main point. And continuing here, all the while Marvel was bleeding money with a single episode of She-Hulk costing some $25 million, dwarfing the budget of a final season episode of HBO's Game of Thrones, but without a similar zeitgeist bang. The August 2022 series premiere at the El Capitan Theater foreshadowed what was to come 6 months later at the Quantumania Bow. The She-Hulk special effects were out of focus in multiple scenes. There are signs that the flood of product is leading people to tune out. Quote, I'm not prepared to call it a permanent fall, but based on the numbers that go with Marvel podcasts, Marvel-based articles, friends who do Marvel-based video coverage, all of these numbers are significantly down, says Joanna Robinson, co-author of the New York Times bestseller MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios, who is a writer and podcaster at The Ringer. Quote, the quality is suffering in 2019 at the peak. If you put Marvel Studios in front of something, people were like, oh, that brand means quality. That association is no longer the case because there have been so many projects that felt half-baked and undercooked. That is exactly it right there. Mm-hmm. Exactly. 2019 and before, Marvel Studios, oh yeah, this is going to be good, or at least somewhat fun, right? And well-made. It's no longer the case. The trust isn't there anymore.
It's ironic because that's coming from one of Marvel's biggest biased bloggers on the planet, Joanna Robinson.
Yeah. And when you lose people like that, again, someone who wrote MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios book, right? Basically butt-kissing project, right? And they're willing to say that.
Pretty much what it was, yeah.
I mean, goodness gracious, that you're falling at that point.
I still don't know if I'm going to read that book. I'd actually rather get the MCU timeline book that Marvel proper put out over that. But that's just me personally.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see.
Let me get the cliff notes.
Continuing here, as public criticism mounts, Feige is pulling the plug on scripts and projects that aren't working. Case in point. Now, this is interesting.
Yes, this piece right here is very interesting.
Let's see. Case in point, the Blade reboot with Mahershala Ali sign on for the eponymous. How do I pronounce this word? Eponymous.
Yeah,
eponymous role of a vampire. Things looked promising for a 2023 release date.
Pandemic.
But the project has gone through at least 5 writers, 2 directors, and 1 shutdown 6 weeks before production. One person familiar with the script permutation says the story at one point. Now, this was like, wow, okay, I can't believe you're going this direction. The story at one point morphed into a narrative led by women and filled with life lessons, which, like, this is Blade, a vampire, like half vampire fighting other vampires. What the frick are you doing?
He's like,
Blade was relegated on the 4th lead. A bizarre idea considering that the studio had 2-time Oscar winner Ali on board. The movie's called Blade. And you're going to be the 4th lead?
Yeah, no, that ain't cool
No.
at all.
I can understand
Like-
when Mahershala Ali is annoyed.
Like Mahershala Ali legitimately called Marvel Studios, says, "Hey, I want to be Blade." And then Kevin Feige's like, "Yeah, we got you." And then they completely dropped the fucking ball in the scripting phase. It's like, how does this even happen?
Yeah.
This is just not okay.
Guys, he
at
came to
fucking
us. We
all.
can put 3 people in front of him.
It's so stupid.
It's
It's so
ridiculous.
stupid.
It's
like
ridiculous.
it's like if you
Absolutely
made
ridiculous.
an Iron Man movie and you made Happy Hogan a main character, then you also had
Like Pepper Potts is
Machine.
more.
Yeah, Pepper Potts, and made them all the main
Where's the
characters.
Pepper Potts series?
And then Iron
Yeah.
Man's just there. That's what it's like.
Yeah.
And that
But
okay.
again, I mean, like we're gonna finish this article, but like, again, when you hear that about Blade, right, and then you hear about how Daredevil Born Again was gonna be more of a legal drama,
Yeah.
and you weren't gonna see him until episode 4 in the suit.
And you already had people who worked on the original Daredevil series on Netflix criticizing
It's
what they
like,
were
what
doing
are
with
we
the fight
doing
scenes.
here?
Yeah.
How do you make a series like that where you're like, oh yeah, he's gonna be, and then not to mention there was rumors that Foggy Nelson was gonna die off,
Yeah.
or die in the first episode.
Foggy and
It was-
Karen.
Yeah, it was
Ugh.
like, why are we
Yeah.
doing that?
Yeah.
But then they brought back the Punisher showrunner, which makes me a little more optimistic because the Punisher is great and it's very similar vibes to that
Yeah.
Daredevil show.
On top of that, they're also getting the directors of Loki to direct for Daredevil. And I'm like, yeah, let them have it. They clearly know what the fuck's up.
Yeah, very true.
And to anyone in the chat telling me to read the book, yeah, I'm not reading that fucking book. I don't give a damn. I don't give a shit. It's not happening.
What
That
book?
bitch wrote it. I ain't fucking reading it. I don't care.
The Marvel
Pause not stopped.
Pause.
Oh, what?
Fuck.
Oh,
All right, let's do this article
I
here.
gotta go.
It says, as public criticism. Already read that part. Sorry. Amid reports that Ollie was ready to exit over script issues, Feige went back to the drawing board and hired Michael Green, the Oscar-nominated writer of Logan, to start anew. Speculation around town is that the studio is looking to make the film, now slated for 2025, on a budget of less than $100 million, a deviation from Marvel's big spending strategy. I love
Good.
everything this said right there. I love all that
Good.
information.
Good.
Logan writer, great. Less than 100 million, great. Awesome. I'm all here for it. If they actually fulfill that promise, that's great.
Let the man cook. Michael Green wrote fucking Logan. Let him fucking do his thing with Blade.
Yeah,
It's
no need to
really-
question him whatsoever.
Nope.
With Iger publicly acknowledging the downside of a Marvel TV glut that diluted focus and attention, the keepers of the comic book empire are considering some dramatic moves. Sources say there have been talks to bring back the original gang for an Avengers movie, completely, creatively bankrupt. This would include reviving Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man and Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow, both of whom were killed off in Endgame. That shouldn't be a stumbling block. In comic books, beloved characters are often killed off, only to be resurrected thanks to the power of things like the multiverse. But the studio hasn't yet committed to the idea. If we were able to bring those actors back, it wouldn't come cheap. Sources say Downey Jr.'s upfront salary for Iron Man 3 was around $25 million. Now, this quote right here is saying this shouldn't be a stumbling block in comic books. It talks about them coming back all the time. Here's the thing, and I've talked about this before. Comic book diehard fans will see it as no big deal. They'll be like, oh yeah, this happens all the time in comics. The general audience, though, is who you have to retain.
Yep.
And if you bring them back just out of nowhere, it's like, oh yeah, multiverse. Then again,
That's
it just
weak.
deludes what
That's
happened
weak.
in Endgame.
It's very weak. Now, let's also address the fact that we're pretty much assuming that they're probably going to come back for Secret Wars anyway. So it feels a little redundant to try and pull that trigger early. You know what I mean?
That's fair. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's just hearing that, like the only way that I could be okay with that, even somewhat, is if it was a prequel to what happened in Infinity War, like a mission that we
Sure.
didn't see, like
Sure.
them looking back on a mission that they had against some other villain that for some reason wasn't shown to us before. But other than that, bringing those actors back, and again, they talk about the financial issue with that, is how expensive Downey Jr. is, Chris Evans is, like all those main, cast members are way more expensive now than they were when the MCU first started out. And that's already going to balloon your budget. Then it's just going to cause a lot more financial issues. Let's continue here. Will that solve Marvel's major problems? When the Quantumania actor was arrested in Marvel's major problems. Oh my gosh, what a pun. When the Quantumania actor was arrested in March, Disney executives insisted that they could afford to play a wait-and-see game, given that Avengers: The Kang Dynasty wasn't expected to begin shooting until early 2024. But then Majors was dropped in quick succession by his publicists and managers. He remains a client at WME, the agency where he landed after the CAA parted ways with him pre-arrest for his, quote, brutal conduct towards staff. says one source. CAA declined to comment. In April, other alleged domestic violence victims of majors began cooperating with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Then, ahead of a key hearing in October, media outlets including Variety obtained a court filing that referenced a police incident in London involving majors that led his ex-girlfriend to seek medical attention. Making matters even stickier, the ex-girlfriend also worked on Quantumania as a movement coach, and the London incident took place while Majors was shooting season 2 of Loki. On October 25th, a New York judge denied Majors' motion to dismiss the case, which ensures that the actor will stand trial in late November. His legal team is attempting to keep some material in the case sealed. So that's the thing, too, is that the fact that he's standing trial is, of course, going to be really sticky for Marvel.
Oh, God.
Like, even if he's innocent, even if he's proven innocent, which, again, still plenty could come out about that totally changes the narrative. We'll have to see.
That
But
trial's
even
this month. It's like
yeah,
right around the time the Marvel debuts, I think, if not a week or two after that.
Well,
Something
also
like that.
them seeking to seal some material. I mean, that doesn't bode well for him.
No, it's not a good look publicly.
It's not a
It's
good look. Like, oh yeah, hey, let's not let's keep these facts hidden.
mhm.
And don't look over there. Don't look over there.
Just watch Kang.
Yeah, just watch King.
Just watch Kang.
Yeah,
Moon Knight's coming back.
yeah. It's,
Where's Shang-Chi? Where is he?
Seriously, where the fuck is
Where are
Shang-Chi?
the
But also,
Eternals? Are
let's
they just
also be
floating
fair
around
here.
in space?
Like Simulio did also just have like some kind of like foot injury or something, so that's probably also why he's probably not going to cameo.
So
anytime
did fucking
soon.
Tom Cruise. He broke his foot.
I
He's
know.
still
He's not
flying.
Tom Cruise.
They made
He's
my man
flying
Henry Cavill keep the
F-18s.
fucking mustache for no damn reason.
Dude, that man is riding motorcycles off giant ramps, flying
Yeah.
F-18s, and taking on mummies. Broken foot, ankle, doesn't matter.
yeah.
And he's blazing it up
He's
with
pushing 60
Sloan
too, so
Kettering.
there's that.
Yeah, Shang-Chi was in Barbie. Fuck.
Yeah, that's
That's-
true.
yeah.
Simulio
That was
in
your
Barbie, you're
cameo.
right.
It was like,
You're right,
there
yeah.
he is.
Let's
That's the
continue
trailer.
here. Let's continue here. It says a studio source notes that regardless of the actor's legal issues, Marvel already had considered moving away from a Majors-led phase because of the box office performance of Quantumania, which will struggle to make a profit. It gave people pause, given that Quantumania didn't exactly land. Yeah, no kidding. The sources say on October 27th, Disney removed another Majors film, Searchlight's Magazine Dreams, from the release calendar.
That is true.
Recasting Majors is also an option. I've seen people throw around the name, John Boyega, if I can even speak.
I've seen
which-
John Boyega, I've seen John
John
David
Boyega.
Washington. I've seen.
Yeah.
I threw out Ray Fisher. I
Jai
think Ray
Courtney.
Fisher would make oh wow, what the fuck?
Denzel Washington.
Okay, here.
Michael
we
J.
go.
White.
Recasting Majors is an option, as Feige did when he replaced Terrence Howard in Iron Man 2 with Don Cheadle.
Wayne T. Carr.
In fact, Marvel isn't afraid to change direction, even after making splashy announcements. Armor Wars was first unveiled. Like, what the heck is up with Armor Wars?
Yeah, what happened to Armor Wars?
Yeah, it was first unveiled as a series and is now being developed as a feature, while the studios push to adapt the comic book Inhumans into a feature film
There's your
generated
Obi-Wan.
headlines. But it's now dormant. The now defunct Marvel Television mounted an Inhumans TV series in 2017 that ran for one season on ABC. I heard it was garbage. I never saw it.
No, I saw the
Oh, it was
pilot and I
pretty
was like,
bad.
yeah, this isn't
Yeah.
that good. Yeah, no, it wasn't the sauce.
It was
Uh-uh.
not
And then
good.
this next part goes into Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It says, still, there was one bright spot in 2023, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which became Marvel's biggest draw of the year, with $845 million worldwide. The fact that it was directed by James Gunn, the guy now running rival DC Studios, was lost on no one. Now, here's where we get into sort of the comparisons here. I've seen a lot of people saying, like, well, James Gunn made the only successful thing from Marvel last year, or I guess this past year, and now he's going to DC, so therefore he's going to carry the success with him. Here's the thing about that. And we've all said this before. We've all echoed this sentiment. Superman Legacy needs to absolutely kill it with story and everything like that in order to take that throne of like best comic book
Yep.
movie, studios or whatever, or to really revamp a lot of the narrative around comic
Well,
book
James
films.
Gunn did say that The Flash was the best superhero movie he'd ever
That's the
seen.
thing too. That's a problem.
Yeah.
He keeps saying these
I
things
mean,
about these movies.
he says
and
that
then-
because he's trying to make a profit off a movie.
No,
that he
but
had nothing to
he
do
said
with.
it was the best movie he'd ever seen. The best.
He's a
superhero movie.
liar.
One of the best.
It's
superhero
because he's a
movies I've ever
liar.
seen.
He lied about Zack Snyder. No, see, and then we go down that route when you say something stupid like that. Look,
Sell
he's
James
gonna-
Gunn to Netflix.
there we go.
Jesus, that's Christ.
That's try and connect James Gunn back to his baby, which is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Again, for me, Superman Legacy needs to be absolutely almost perfect in order
Guys,
to
we
really...
need to start writing letters. Guardians of the Galaxy 4.
I was going to say the same thing.
We need to start writing letters, long form, and if you can get a quill, because that makes more sense because it's Peter Quill.
Cursive writing.
So if we can use a quill and we can demonstrate that, I think we're going to make Guardians of the Galaxy 4 happen.
Here's the big difference that I think is getting lost on a lot of people. People automatically assume that since he's over at DC now and he's the head, it's like, okay, yeah, one movie doesn't equate to an entire fucking universe worth of projects. Okay, let's also make that abundantly clear. Is he doing all the projects? No, he's got his hands in 3, 4 at this point. Superman Legacy, Creature Commandos.
You know he's got it in fucking
Peacemaker
Batman.
Season 2.
Brave and
I
the
don't know
Bold.
about that.
Come on, it's one of the Trinity.
I don't know about man.
He's gonna get in there.
I just have hope
to some
that
extent.
He just lets Muschietti do his fucking thing on that movie. That's what I hope.
If he ends up staying attached, which again we'll see if that actually happens.
I could see him moving off that film eventually. Like,
creative differences.
Yeah, creative
creative differences.
Mental break.
That's like when you play Uno, like you draw 4. Creative differences.
Wow.
Damn it! It got me again.
Let's continue this here. It says, with Marvel, it used to be as close to a guarantee as you could get. It's repeating a sentiment in the earlier paragraph. Says Paul Durgarabedian.
Whatever.
I'm sorry. Circle against a square.
A box office analyst at ComScore. So going all in on the budgets made sense. Guardians 3 was a bit overlooked in how successful it was, but that had James Gunn and Chris Pratt, and I think star power is becoming more important. Then there was Quantumania with $476 million. Anything under $500 million is viewed as a disappointment, especially with a big brand like Disney. And these overreaching expectations are a result of so much success over the years. The key to reinvigorating Marvel may lie with the superhero arsenal that Disney acquired during its 2019 film purchase of 21st Century Fox. We've talked about that. That deal brought several blue-chip heroes such as the X-Men and the Fantastic Four back under the studio's control. Already, fans are geeking out about the next year's Deadpool 3, which unites Ryan Reynolds' Merc with a Mouth with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine and a reboot of Fantastic Four slated for 2025. As a bonus, the Fox editions give Feige an opportunity to reimagine the X-Men franchise, the very property he cut his teeth on as a young executive at Lauren Schuler Donner's production company. Now that the WGA strike is in the rear view mirror, Marvel has started talking to writers about bringing the X-Men into the MCU fold. While Feige recalibrates, the rest of the industry is anxiously hoping that Marvel's best days are not behind it. Writing the Marvel obituary would be ill-advised, says Jason Squire, professor emeritus at USC School of Cinematic Arts and host of the Movie Business podcast. Kevin Feige is the Babe Ruth of movie executives, and Marvel has the most profitable track record in movie history, no question. So here's the thing. At the end of the day, we can talk about Marvel having the bad track record over the past couple of years since Endgame, basically, or inconsistent, I guess is the better word. The thing is will they actually learn from these? And based on the existence of this article, I'm willing to lean towards that they are learning from it. I mean, they at least are admitting that they have a problem. They're admitting there's an issue and they need to change it.
Yes, I think they're well aware that they've kind of gone off the beaten path and kind of like Batman, in BVS, he's gone off his path and now he start killing people. But they didn't explain but the reason why they got there was it wasn't a very good one. It was kind of like what. And so again, treading water. Okay, so what do we do? Okay, No Way Home, got it. Multiverse of Madness, got it. Fuck, they're catching up. What else do we do? Shang-Chi, got it. Okay, Eternals, okay, got it. Moon Knight, Hawkeye, fuck, it's catching up to us. And now it's like, hey, so what's the story?
Yeah.
We don't know.
But here's the question, though. Here's the question. Although I do think they are recognizing that they've made mistakes and they need to change course a little bit.
Who has recognized it?
The people that are talking about this inside,
the MCU.
Like they talked about
the
them having
MCU.
They talked about them having a retreat of all the executives and them being kind of more tense and recognizing, hey, there's a problem here. Now, my question is this: if they do indeed correct these things, how far along is it in the process of people just not caring anymore? Is it going to be too late by the time they correct the ship? Because again, phases of popularity of certain film genres and certain types of films only last for a certain amount of time. Like, for instance, I've mentioned Westerns before on this show, and I was staying with some friends over the weekend, and there was this whole channel of westerns, and it was just western after western after western released like year after year, like twice a year. Like there was a lot of westerns back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. There was a huge era of westerns. You don't see that much anymore. People got bored of that and went on to different things. So my question is it already past that time by the time these people make these corrections with these movies, or do we still have some time before it fully dies out? Well, not fully, but like becomes more of a fatigue issue.
All they have to do is introduce something that is beloved and just like the fucking not Far From Home. What was it? The Spider-Man when you brought back Alfred Molina and Willem Dafoe.
No Way Home.
No Way Home. All you have to do is
No Way Home.
Bring something like that. Thanks, Phil. Not Andre. Is bring something like that.
Spider-Man No Way Home
back,
you
and
got
people
Jamie
will
Foxx.
fucking. All they need is an excuse.
The guy from
to
Wings,
sort of, kind of rally.
Sandman.
All they need is an excuse to try to kind of bolster that again, right? Like, I mean, you've got people out there that, like you said, they'll go watch a Marvel film just because it's a Marvel film. It's gonna suck probably, and it's gonna lead to nowhere. But they're gonna still watch it, hoping that this is the one that turns the tide.
Yeah.
There's always that hope.
And I think those movies that they're looking forward to figure out if they can actually correct this is, like it's mentioning here, X-Men and Fantastic Four. Deadpool will, Ryan Reynolds is going to bring in money
now. Yeah.
But as far as the entire MCU, X-Men and Fantastic Four, I think the MCU will either escalate or de-escalate solely based on the quality and reception of those movies.
When is Secret War supposed to come out in 2026? And that's even
Kang Dynasty is slated for 26.
I know, but that's even if they do Kang Dynasty, they might just scrap that and just do Secret Wars on that date instead. Because you figure, look, if you're going to course correct, how are you going to do that? Well, you could say, okay, so by course correcting, by writing the ship, our next films that are coming out, you got the Marvels, whatever, fuck it, it's coming out, you can't stop that shit, right? But your next big ones are going to be Deadpool, and then you have Fantastic Four, which is Deadpool opens the door for any Fox X-Men character to come over. You have your Secret Wars extravaganza.
Right. Yeah.
Well, but still, they're going to do it again. I mean, but
I don't see any reason why they wouldn't just recast Kang.
Well, but here's the thing: is like to me, you cannot recast
that to me is like
the X-Men.
The safest option at this point, as far as the whole Kang angle goes.
Because they have so many other things that kind of build up to it.
But
it's safer than just rewriting everything and just ignoring.
You can't recast your X-Men to me until you reboot. Because how do you explain, mutants being in the MCU? Obviously, Miss Marvel is a mutant.
Did you not see Ralph Boner?
Yeah, I saw that bullshit. It was dumb.
Yeah, but
pissed everyone off. That was the moment where I'm like, oh,
that was
crap.
Letdown.
They're not really.
That was a huge letdown.
That was a
but they did it.
So if you want letdowns,
and they did it in Phil's favorite show.
Ryan, if you want letdowns, then you're in store because that's all you've been getting lately.
What?
So you're like a fucking seventh heaven. No, I mean that was bullshit. I mean the whole Ralph Boner thing was so dumb. You missed it because you weren't listening. The whole Ralph Boner thing was so stupid. But what I'm saying is that like if you try to recast and reintroduce the X-Men now, to me there's so much crap out there that it's too convoluted. Mm-hmm. You have to reset and restart your MCU with the X-Men.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with restart the whole or reboot everything with Fantastic Four and X-Men and all that, but they've already shown that they're gonna go forward with a Fantastic Four movie, right? Mm-hmm. They've already promoted that shit that they're gonna do it. So
before the reboot,
and this is before the whole major shit, right? And again, dude, you guys mentioned some pretty good people that could replace him, but I would they fucking replaced Rhodey. They're finally going to replace. Hulk. Yeah, they replace Hulk.
And even now, we're about to see it again, unfortunately, due to unfortunate circumstances, but we're about to see Harrison Ford take over for William Hurt.
Yeah. And not only that, but also they're finally going to pick somebody over for Black Panther, hopefully, right? For T'Challa from a different fucking universe.
Well,
I don't give a shit, but I need to see more Black Panther. Like, I'm sorry, but I want to see more of Black Panther. I need to see that. They wait. That was a big waste of what they did in the Wakanda thing. I was like, wow, you guys could have done something different. I get that, hey,
I mean,
you know, I feel bad for the guy that the actor that
I
lost
definitely agree.
his life, but the character, you know, the character lives on, right? It's not like,
It
you know,
just-
hey,
But Ryan, it just feels like everything that's been happening with the MCU, everything,
Mhm.
aside for No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness, I would say everything else has felt like this at the theater.
That's
I mean, I
there's
feel
just
like that, but
nothing
at
going
home.
on. Like,
Yeah, honestly, with a lot of the past,
because I don't go to the
movie
movies
films
to
the
see
past like 2
Marvels
years,
anymore.
that's when my face, especially when they try to tell a joke, I'm just like,
yeah, saw that coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I like look. You know, I saw Thor not in theaters, both of them.
I
You
did.
lucky
And
dog. You
and
lucky
I
and
saw
dog.
Thor: Love and Thunder in theaters.
but
as well.
I
Yeah,
saw the
so did I.
previews and I was like, okay, fuck this. I'm not down.
I wish
And
we
you
would've
know,
turned
it
it
turned
down.
out to be correct. I was like, yeah, I saw it on the small screen. I was like, wow, you know, I avoided this trash. And you know, I mean, it's look, I get it, and I'm down with even shit.
The
Fucking
sickness.
DC and Marvel, they could both stand from a fucking complete overhaul reboot. I understand that they want to cherry pick and shit over at DC. I understand that they're like, you know, that you guys are worried they're going to do the same at Marvel, cherry pick. I mean, you've
That's
already
what they're
had
gonna
fucking,
do.
Probably
you've already
are.
had the Ralph Boner shit. You've already had the fucking, you know, Patrick Stewart.
Well,
You know, he's already in the MCU.
look at
As-
Spider-Man. They're going to keep him if they do another trilogy with Tom Holland.
exactly.
Oh, yes.
Exactly. No,
Yeah.
you can't get rid of Tom Holland.
And my thing too is something that I've recognized, and I think RJ had put this in the chat a little bit earlier, is he mentioned the success of things like Invincible and The Boys and the popularity of Invincible
what's
and
up,
The
Ben?
Boys. And I kind of feel like that the general audience, or I guess comic book movie viewing audience, is going on a similar trajectory that the comic book fans are going through. Although with comic fans took a lot longer to transition from just being devoted to either DC or Marvel, but now they're branching out into more independent stuff, like again, Invincible or The Boys, or other things like Image Comics, Dark Horse, or whatnot. I feel like movie audiences are moving in that direction faster than comic book fans did. And so now, again, you're seeing people branch out and be like, okay, what's these other new, fresh things that I'm gonna be looking into? Who are these other characters, these other worlds? They're wanting something a little bit more fresh than just, oh, yeah, well, here's Nick Fury sitting in a chair again, not doing anything. Let's see what's going on here. Again, I just think it's a similar trajectory, just faster for the movie viewing audience.
I also think in the
I
case
think-
of The Boys and Invincible, you have like there's a novelty there, more specifically with The Boys, of it being a commentary on superhero culture more so than actual. I mean, it is part of the superhero culture, but the fact that it's also kind of a meta commentary on that genre also works out heavily in its favor too.
Very, very
It sure
true.
does, and that it can make fun of the things that actually go on with the studios
Yes.
and stuff.
100%.
You know,
Yes.
I mean, they totally lean into that, and I love it.
Yeah.
Like the whole joke with the Ultimate 7 cut or whatever the fuck it was in season 3.
Yep.
We all know damn good and well what they were riffing on there.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Like,
Captain Marvel, the unseen cut.
Venom here says lesser known comics are making waves too. Yeah, absolutely. That's the main thing. Like, again, you look back at New York Comic Con a couple weeks ago, how there's all this massive amounts of talent that's leaving the major companies like Marvel and DC and going and doing their own thing with either Image or starting their own comic companies, right?
Yeah.
It's a big thing that's happening right now. And again, it's when you have so much power and you just basically misuse that power by just putting
With
out
great power
garbage for
comes
a
great
long time.
Here's a
responsibility.
hypothetical for you guys. What if the Spawn movie actually comes out with Jamie Foxx and it makes $1 billion and it's an R-rated, dark ass, gritty fucking not even superhero movie, but a fucking comic book movie? Right,
Hell
exactly.
yeah.
Right.
Hell
Like,
yeah.
What are you talking about? Oh,
think about
Spawn?
how much
Is that thing even still
Spawn.
happening?
Yeah, Blumhouse
Apparently.
Studios is making it.
Blumhouse is making it.
Yeah.
They got the writer from Falcon and Winter Soldier, Malcolm Spellman, as part of the scripting trio on that, if I'm not mistaken.
They're
Do they
much
still have?
further along.
They don't have
Where
Jamie
did that
Foxx.
come from?
They don't have Jamie Foxx connected to it, do they?
No,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's still attached to play Spawn.
Still attached. Oh,
Yeah, he's
okay.
gonna play Al Simmons. Yeah.
I would
So-
say Spawn is much further along than like Blade.
That, you know what?
I would agree with you.
Yeah.
I would agree with
Yeah,
you.
I
Yeah.
agree.
It's-
I
it's-
agree.
it's-
In
Yeah.
fact,
But
also
I heard that-
Commercial
that's
Ali,
It's
like,
not quite Constantine 2, but it's the wheels are churning on this
I
one.
would put Spawn and Constantine 2 at like the same level of we're still
Constantine
fucking
2
figuring it out, but
is
we're
Yes,
a
almost
fucking
yes,
there.
pipe
yes.
dream.
But you know, is
Constantine
Spawn
Tune-
going to be the fourth lead?
Oh my gosh.
You know, it's funny because something did happen similarly where at one point the Spawn movie was going to be more or less a Sam and Twitch movie with Spawn just kind of in the background, just being there. So yes, it is a very similar
The
situation.
Violator is going to be the main character.
Here's the thing, like Spawn fans would be more okay with that than that Blade situation that was mentioned in the
Oh,
article.
probably.
Like Sam and Twitch
probably.
are great, but
I
like
mean,
I'm sorry,
when
but
you look at the
also
Blade
with Blade, you
situation,
need to have blood.
yeah,
You
when you
do.
look at Blade and Daredevil Born Again, thank God. Dude, if Kevin Feige was right here, I'd be like, dude, Nux, dude. Good job for pumping the brakes, pulling the plug on that shit, and redoing it, because that sounded fucking terrible. I'm sorry. It sounded like She-Hulk. Daredevil Born Again sounded like a rehash of She-Hulk.
Yeah.
And if that's what we're going to get, then I'm glad they pulled the plug, because that's what I did not want to see from Daredevil.
Yeah.
It's just, it would have been a crime to see him in a show, Matt Murdock, Charlie Cox, and it just be a
I object.
lawyer-esque show with some
Sustained.
puns and some quips, and
it would just be such
you
a
know.
disappointing follow-up to what was an
Man,
amazing
approach
3
the
seasons
bench.
on Netflix. I
Right.
mean, you can't
Man,
really match
approach
that. Like holy
It just-
cow.
And then,
It would've been
but
funny
not
as
to
shit.
mention, if it was gonna be a lawyer drama, you know damn well that Tatiana
She-Hulk
Mosley,
is
whatever,
gonna-
she
yes!
would have shown up in
my
those first 4
God.
episodes.
Oh, that would've
She
been
would have
so
shown up
stupid.
somewhere and been
Yeah,
like,
Jennifer
hey,
Walters probably would have showed up. You're
yeah,
right.
we're like, hey, Matt
For
Murdock.
round 2 with Matt Murdock, more or less.
Yeah, it's like, oh, look who it is. It's the cameo we all
It's
wanted
the
to
next
see.
build-up. It's like who's gonna win? You know,
Now,
She-Hulk
granted,
or
in the
or
grand
Daredevil
scheme of
in the
Marvel
courtroom.
canon, yes, that makes sense because they're both attorneys, sure. But after what we've seen with She-Hulk and Daredevil, it's like, yeah, no, these are 2 tonally different projects. And sure, you know, the debate can be had whether or not Daredevil can work in, you know, a more lighter tone. I'm kind
But
of
still,
of that
I
mind, but
mean,
not really.
the original
Mm,
Born Again series,
me.
like storyline, that was never going to happen. I mean, you
Oh,
might have got,
fuck no.
you may have gotten like some touches on it, but like, I mean, there was.
You know
it was
why
never
it wouldn't
gonna
have happened now? Because they don't have the Avengers that play a part in that story to come back
the
for
Avengers
it.
show up at the end. That wouldn't have
Yeah,
happened.
Specifically, Captain America.
Paige turning into a heroin addict who
Well, on
is in
top of that, they
pornography,
already
that
did
would
the
never
whole.
happen.
They already did the whole nuke thing with Jessica Jones,
Yep.
so that wasn't going to happen either.
That was never going to happen.
Yeah.
So they already kind of, I mean, again, it's like they just took the name and said Daredevil Born Again. That makes more sense because now that he's with the MCU, he's kind of like he's born again. So yeah, that's cool. We'll just take that name, and that's all they were really going to
Well,
do.
it's the
They were
same
just-
thing with Batman Brave and the Bold. Everybody knows that. It's like, what the fuck?
I mean, here's another example: Spider-Man: Homecoming.
not-
That is that title alone is a play on the fact that they had Spider-Man
But
back in
It's
Marvel
not
Studios.
even. It's not even Batman the Brave. It's just the
It's
Brave,
Brave
and
the
the Bold.
Bold.
The Brave and the Bold. That's all it is. That's
Didn't
it.
they
It's
have
not
a-
Batman?
A television show like that? Like a
They did.
Yeah.
But and I think it's called The Brave and the Bold is because it's going to be about the Bat family. And so
Yeah.
that's why they're like, well, we don't want to just call it Batman. This is just saying like the Batman universe.
But we've
Just
been
call it
talking
Bat
about
Wheels.
a lot of the studio stuff and all this bullcrap that happens behind the scenes. Another thing that came out today, a very interesting article regarding HBO.
Oh,
We're gonna
Oh,
read through something else
fuck.
really quick.
Oh.
This is again, this is one of those things where like we've known this for a while, like just knowing this, we understand that this happens, but having this confirmation is interesting. So this came out from the Rolling Stones.
Why
It
does
says
Casey
here-
Bloys look like he's?
yeah.
He looks like he's running a game show right there.
I thought that was a game show.
That's what it looks like,
Welcome.
right?
Your question is, which company makes secret fake accounts to troll TV critics? That's honestly the question he's asking, because that's the title right here. HBO bosses used secret fake accounts to troll TV critics. Now, what I mean by we knew this for a while is that we knew that studios recognized the potential of social media to play in their favor. So there's no doubt that they had accounts that, you know, twisted narratives that praised shows of theirs. Like we knew that that happened. They'd
Look
be
at this whole
stupid
debacle
not
with
to.
Yeah, I
do
mean,
that.
they have a whole team of social media people that,
Yeah.
you know, that's their job is to sort of, you know, kind of sway people or
Yeah.
use influencers to sway people or, you know, shit like that.
And again, from a
Okay.
business standpoint, they'd be stupid not to do it, right?
This first sentence just sounds like someone starting off a fucking mockumentary. In June 2020, Casey Bloys, HBO, the president of original
Then
programming,
president.
needed someone to go on a mission.
Bloys, who was named HBO CEO and chairman in October 2022, was irked by a tweet from Vulture TV critic Catherine Van Arendonk, who had some thoughts about Perry Mason, HBO's series starring Matthew Rice as a private detective turned defense attorney in 1930s Los Angeles. The remake of the original 1960s show carves out an origin story for Mason, showing flashes of him serving in World War I, which Van Arendonk felt was weak storytelling. Days before the series aired on the platform, Van Arendonk seemingly had a screener for a review. She subtweeted the series, quote, "Dear Prestige TV," she wrote, "Please find some way to communicate male trauma besides showing me a flashback to the hero's memories of trench warfare." Bloys was annoyed, according to text messages reviewed by Rolling Stone, and sent Van Androck's tweet to Kathleen McCaffrey, HBO's senior vice president of drama programming. Quote, "Maybe a Twitter user should tweet that that's pretty blithe response to what soldiers legitimately go through on the battlefield," he texted. "Do you have a secret handle? Couldn't we say, especially given that it's D-Day, to dismiss a soldier's experience like that seems pretty disrespectful. This must be answered." Bloys was serious. "Who can go on a mission?" he asked McCaffrey, according to the messages, adding that they needed to find a mole at arm's length from the HBO executive team. "We just need a random to make the point and make her feel bad." Eventually, Bloys landed on a rebuttal to Van Andronk, according to the messages, quote, "A somewhat elitist take. Is there anything more traumatic for men and now women than fighting in a war? Sorry if that seems too convenient for you." If that isn't a tweet of any kind of tweet you've ever seen before, I don't know what is. Like, that's a very toxic tweet type of thing that they tweeted out right there. Like, that's
a very toxic thing to engage in, period. But
right, exactly. And then it says here, the exchange was one of at least 6 instances between June 2020 and April 2021 in which Bloys and McCaffrey discussed using what they called a secret army to fire back at several TV critics on Twitter, now known as X, as well as anonymous commenters on articles about HBO programming, according to text exchanges reviewed by Rolling Stone. In this case, the two decided not to hit back at Van Andronk online, but in numerous instances, the HBO execs did just that, trolling the television critics with snarky responses from a fake Twitter account and dropping pro-HBO comments on trade publication stories. Again, we all knew stuff like this was happening. We all knew this. Every production company does this to an extent. Every single one of them. These guys are just stupid enough to get caught. Honestly. Like,
yeah, it's just fucking dumb.
And the fact that this executive is sitting there on Twitter and be like, "I'm annoyed by this one comment, this one critic. Why don't we find someone to clap back at them?" I mean, at that point, like, what are you doing for your job? Like, I get PR as a part of your job, but at the same time, like, there's more important stuff you could be doing with your time as an executive like this. Just me. But with that, let's keep going. Rolling Stone reviewed the metadata associated with the messages and verified their authenticity by linking the sender of the messages to a phone number registered to McCaffrey. What's more, in 4 of the 6 cases, the language of the text is an exact match for the language from the anonymous accounts. HBO did not dispute the legitimacy of the messages when approached for comment by Rolling Stone. In a statement, an HBO spokesperson said it would not comment on select exchanges between programmers and errant tweets. Van Andronk confirmed she wrote the tweet, but declined to comment further. The messages are part of a trove of material being prepared for a previously underreported wrongful termination lawsuit filed in Los Angeles Superior Court in July by former HBO staffer Sully Tamori against HBO McCaffrey, Francesco Orsi, HBO's head of drama, as well as Abel The Weeknd, Tesfaye, and 2 producers for The Idol. So, like, they weren't even looking into that, and then they just found this other stuff. Like, anyway, I don't know. I'm not surprised by this. No one should be surprised by this. I mean, is there really anything else really to say about this, honestly?
No. This is just not at all surprising. This is ridiculous is what it is. I can't even begin to fathom that someone at HBO was like, they're saying shit about our show, we need to fire back at them. It's like, that is by far the most online troll thing to come to mind. And it's like, you're literally just feeding the fire in the worst way possible. Good job, Casey.
And again, it's creating controversy, drama, and conversation surrounding your product. And again, it shouldn't surprise anyone that every other company does this to an extent. I'll say it time and time again.
I mean, this coming from HBO Max, coming from Warner Brothers, from Warner Media, from Discovery, whatever. It doesn't fucking surprise me.
I mean, movie production companies, music production companies, like every type of company that goes into entertainment and needs good PR, and even other companies too that are just like manufacturing, like all these companies, they have this need, they have this, of course, necessity to have good PR and have people comment well on their stuff. And if they're guilted into thinking differently, then people are like, oh, I guess I'm wrong, instead of just recognize like, oh, maybe there's just a bot behind this. But anyway, I just think it's just ridiculous how pathetic is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Stuff like this
it's
is
all sophomore dumb shit that people are getting away with, and it's just kind of like, come on, man, like just be professional and do your job.
It's childish.
And this
It's
comes from
childish.
HBO
My
too. Like
God.
HBO is known for quality content for the most part. So like you have one bad critic for a show, and you can't just brush that off.
They're like, no, get him. I don't
Never.
get it, you know, it's just so stupid.
Toby
it's just
Emmerich looked at
stupid.
that and went, I like it.
It's like, oh crap, we gotta hide our text messages. Probably what they're doing, honestly.
I mean,
Oh
look,
my God.
at this point now, you know, when you look at, you know, what's happening with the whole MCU, like we talked about, like DC had a perfect chance to start putting out putting out news about their new projects and screenshots and shit, just to really amp up any kind of hype. And because of the strike, they can't do shit.
Mhm.
Yep.
No one can do anything. So
it's like DC over the past 2 windows of opportunity
they
have
can't
not
catch
been
a
able to
break.
capitalize. When they had,
Right.
you know, COVID, when they had the Snyder Cut, you could have capitalized on that. Then now with the writer's strike, you're physically incapable of capitalizing on Marvel's downfall. It's back-to-back windows of opportunity that DC just cannot hit for different reasons, of course.
Well, and that's why, you know, it comes back to the whole, oh, you know, if Universal bought Warner Brothers, they would bring Zack Snyder back. Look, when
Who?
the Snyderverse was released and it was announced it was going to get released, everybody was like, yeah, this is a chance to finish out his story. And they still didn't do it because a guy like Walter Hamada had his own plan, wanted his own legacy when it comes
Walter.
to DC.
Wally.
And
Did
so
you,
now,
did you say
now you-
Universal?
yeah, that's the whole thing. Everyone's like, oh, Universal's going to buy Warner Brothers.
They can't even get
And-
a fucking dark universe going. How the hell
Exactly.
you expect to get?
And so,
Oh,
and,
man.
and that's why it's like, dude, it's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Thank
Let's
you.
just get through
Thank
the
you.
strike.
It's like
Get through the
that's
strike.
just it. Shut the fuck
Yeah.
up. Right.
Yeah,
Shut the
man.
fuck
I mean,
up.
you know, like, what are people doing?
Mhm.
I
Not
know.
That they-
jobs,
Like,
evidently.
I'm sorry that they focus on shit that's just never gonna happen. It's like, I'm sorry, but dude, that ship's fucking sailed, and like, just
Gone.
get used to it. Like,
Mhm.
it's just, you know, why are you going to continue to champion something that's just ludicrous?
Yeah. Speaking of
Ludicrous
which,
speed.
there
No!
there was
Blow it out your
reports. Yeah, there was reports that came out earlier today or yesterday. I can't remember which one, that showed that on December 1st, Netflix is adding the DCEU onto their stream platform, which
Yeah.
of course includes the Joss Whedon version of Justice League, and what was the other
Very
one? that they had
careful
on?
with the next thing you say.
I
Yeah.
know.
And-
Because right now it's currently sitting on Amazon, and so no,
Yeah.
December 1st, I think it is. That's
Yeah,
when it
is
comes
when,
over
like,
to Netflix.
Man of Steel,
And-
BVS, Justice League, Wonder
Yeah.
Woman, Aquaman, and all is going to Netflix, and then now
And
you have
then the
people saying-
air cut.
Yeah, well, now you have people saying like, "Oh, look, they're adding all to Netflix. It means things are working with Zack Snyder." No,
It's not.
No.
Wow.
What it is that Warner Bros is like, hey, look, we need to start leasing out some of our content so we can make some more money.
Mhm.
So Amazon has had a run with it. Next one, Netflix have a run with it, and
Yep.
then when that run is over, guess what happens?
Hulu.
Two
No.
words.
Waller
words.
comes out,
Two
and then we
words.
go right back into HBO Max. That's it.
2 words. To Andre's point, just 2 words that these people just do not fucking understand.
Thank
And
Phil.
here's what they are: licensing deals.
Yep.
That's what
Yeah,
this
sure.
is. That's
Yeah.
All about
exactly
money.
what this is.
Yeah.
All about
Exactly.
money.
Exactly. It's like they're not
And it's
doing
not
this to bring shit back. No, fuck.
And it's
no.
not like Netflix is bringing in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Like even then, that wouldn't even say much because
No.
again, like you said, licensing deals, right?
Yeah.
But of course,
It's like you see all these films on there, but it's like, oh, you know, but you're never going to get Zack Snyder's Justice League, but that's what everybody wants.
I don't want your money. I want Aquaman.
You know what I mean? It's like everybody wants Zack Snyder's Justice League, and that'd be a great way to get that movie into circulation by putting it on Amazon, putting it on Netflix. I mean, for a bigger audience to see, and they don't do it because they're not going to do it. Because
And then they started monologuing.
Exactly.
I don't want your money. I want Aquaman.
Shame on you. Ugly baby judges you.
No, I mean,
no,
it's
and they're making a fucking
people.
they're making money hand over fist by leasing it out to
Yes.
leasing these titles to Amazon and Netflix. They're gonna make a shit ton of money doing that, and then as soon as those contracts are up, those leasing agreements are up, that's when you're gonna get the new Waller series. You're gonna get Creature Commandos.
Yeah.
You're gonna get
all the things that you've always asked for.
Now, here's what I have to
Everything
say
is gonna
to all the
start up,
people.
and it's over.
Here's what I have to say to all the people who are just spamming the Restore the Snyderverse hashtag right now.
Okay, well,
Wow. You know what's funny that you mentioned that, Phil, is that, dude, I do not get on this X platform. And it was funny is that you mentioning that and the people hashtagging whatever. So it's like, dude, I haven't missed out on anything. Like I left it was like that. I'm coming back, it's the same, and there's no change.
Right.
You know, there's no progression. There's no, you know, anything.
The internet doesn't change, just the story of the day changes.
Right.
That's all that changes.
Right.
Wow.
100%. That's a very well put way of putting it, honestly. Day doesn't change. The days change. Story doesn't ever change that much.
Yeah. Just really
And
doesn't.
real quick, we got some breaking news. Nicolas Cage, AI is a nightmare. The Flash cameo is not what I did. So this just came out at 3:30 p.m., which is about 3 hours ago. And so it's not really all that soon. But he talks about, he says, when I went to the picture, it was me fighting a giant spider. I did not do that. That was not what I did. I don't think it was created by AI. I know Tim Burton is upset about AI, as am I. It was
As they should be.
CGI. It was CGI. Okay. So they could de-age me, and I'm fighting a spider. I didn't do any of that, so I don't know what happened there. And then he goes later on. He says, "What I was supposed to do was literally just be standing in an alternate dimension, if you will, and witnessing the destruction of the universe." He said, "Kal-El was bearing witness to the end of a universe, and you can imagine with that short amount of time that I had, what that would mean in terms of what I can convey." I had no dialogue, so I had to convey with my eyes and emotion. So that's what I did. I was
I'm sorry.
on set for maybe 3 hours.
The fact that he
2.5 of those
says
3 hours was getting him into costume.
so. What makes me laugh about that is like, oh, I had to express my emotions with my eyes, but the fact that his eyes what looked the worst in that scene from the Flash is, it's like they butchered his face and his eyes in that animation. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they did.
Oh my god.
The eyes are the windows to the soul.
But it's like his eyes have like these
he's a
really
terrific
crappy
director.
little underlids and everything like that, and it's like
He's a great guy and a great director,
oh,
and I
man.
love his 2 hit movies.
But again, it's like
But not this film.
the fact is like, oh, I really made a point to really use my eyes and express my emotions, but then they animated everything and CGI'd everything, and I was just gone. It's like, oh my gosh.
So basically, what they told him was,
we had
you're going to be
National
looking into
Treasure 3.
there. Your universe is getting destroyed. Just give a look, a passionate look. And then they said, okay, fuck that. Let's just have him fight a spider. Come on, let's go.
Or what they did is they simply just wanted to get footage of how his face looked to get a reference, and then just use that.
No. What they did was they filmed a scene or a shot that was the same amount of time with Henry Cavill because they were going to do something with him. And then they decided against it. And they were like, we need to fill the time. Let's have him fight a fucking spider, because no other character that they did in that whole montage was doing anything other than the look that he was talking about, looking at, watching everything in destruction and devastation and all that kind of crap. So that's what they did. They took that time and they replaced him to give you something else visually to look at. And what But the biggest problem with that wasn't even that. It was that in a Flash movie, you saw so many different iterations of Batman and Superman, and you saw one other iteration of the Flash, and that was the editor. It wasn't even it wasn't Grant Gustin. It wasn't Tim Burton's version, John Wesley Shipp. It wasn't anyone who's ever been in a fucking Flash costume.
Yeah.
But yet you have George Reeve.
Yeah, it was one of
you
the
have
editors.
Chris Reeve. You have Supergirl, forget her name. From the 80s. Yeah,
Helen Slater.
And you have all these other characters, that, God, dude, I mean, that wasn't the biggest problem. The biggest problem was it was just
again
Superman, Batman centric.
One of the biggest letdowns too is like you had you clearly made a nod to Adam West, a Batman TV show,
and didn't even animate his ears.
Not only that, you blatantly cut out Linda Carter's cameo too. It's like, what the fuck?
Why would you cut out?
Right, exactly.
Where,
it was Superman,
she at?
Batman, and you just had her in the Wonder Woman 84.
Mhm.
So you just had her, and she would come back and do that other shit in a heartbeat. I'm sure.
The only of the three that is still alive, and you didn't use her.
You had to have Linda Carter in that scene, and to be honest, I mean, you had to have either John Wesley Shipp or Grant Gustin in that scene.
Yeah,
and that would have been great. Everyone would have been like,
some
done.
Fucking
Got
no
it.
name underneath George Reed. Like what?
Yeah.
Who the fuck even man? I think about that movie and I just get disappointed.
And then you got
over
like
again.
the Chrono Ball
all over again.
all the shit. You know what I mean? It was just like, whoa, what are we
With the
doing?
intentionally bad CGI, because that's how he sees the universe.
That
He
was
sees
bullshit.
the universe in like
He
2003
sees the
CGI.
universe is intentionally bad. That's why it's no longer being a
but
universe.
I'm sorry, but the concept art of that scene was better than the scene we actually got, because they didn't have the Chrono Bowl. They just had all the montage of shit around him, which to me looked way better. Instead, they're like, we're gonna go with the Chrono Bowl. Like what?
They literally had stock footage of all those movies they could have used. But you speaking of multiverse, did you guys see the ad that Ryan Reynolds did with Grant Gustin?
No.
So they introduced Ryan Reynolds introduced Grant Gustin as like this employee of this company, and like was talking to me. He's like geeking out. He's like, so you're saying that they could do it in a Flash, and like just basically just geeking out over the fact that he played the Flash. He's like, you'll always be my Barry, and then Grant Gustin's like, you'll always be my Hal. I'm like, anyway, I saw those.
It is the closest thing we are ever going to get to a Hal Berry moment.
That's it.
Period.
Unfortunately,
and I've said this forever. Is like Ryan Reynolds would have made sense for him to be in the Flash because of Michael Keaton, because of everybody else that was in the movie.
I agree.
It was like it made no sense for the the whole Snyderverse and all that, but it made sense here because he was an iteration. He was already a Green Lantern, already existing, and this was a multiverse movie.
Yep, but they barely use anything.
And guys, just because Halloween, this is my son. He dressed up as
that's
Nightmare
sweet.
Batman.
That's
So,
nice.
Nice.
He had the
Very, very
goggles
cool.
and everything. I was like, yeah, let's do it.
He's
And he
like,
was like, yeah,
my
let's
dad
do it.
made me wear this.
Pretty much, but he was digging it though. So there's my son as Nightmare Batman, and then I put him in the background because that's.
And
not
where
what my
did
city
you
looks like.
take him? Because that doesn't look like a place you can get candy.
Yeah. Oh, you'd be surprised. You'd
Oh
be
my
surprised.
Oh my god.
You'd be surprised. Where'd you?
What? That's weird.
Just expired
surprised
candy
for a
from
place to find candy,
1975.
And then I think we should watch this too. There was a clip released of from the Marvels, and this is the MCU.
Oh, yeah.
So they allow us.
I saw this
to
was
watch
posted,
these.
but I don't know if I watched it.
Okay, so here we go. Here, okay, are you guys gonna be able to hear this shit?
We should be.
Let me see. Can you hear this?
We're gonna
Can
find
you
out.
hear that?
Nope.
No,
All
no, you did not share audio.
Let's
You
see.
lose. Good day, sir.
Where is it?
Ugly
Oh, there
baby
it
is
is.
laughing
They
at you.
changed it.
Ugly
Here we
baby
go. Okay, so
judges
this
you.
is the clip
Judges you. Sorry. Yeah.
and laughs at you both. Here's the newest clip from the Marvels that Ryan is
The
so
highly anticipated
amped
movie.
to go see in D-Box 3D.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Can't wait.
You hear that?
Unfortunately.
I don't like that name.
Power Rangers. Look at these guys. Like,
Okay. When does it come down?
Okay.
That was stupid. The music was the worst part of it. I think it could have been better with.
I could agree.
Again,
The music
again,
there just-
you guys, again.
But the action sequence was.
Again,
I'll say
I like
James
this.
Wan-
I like the
James-
second
guys,
part better.
hold on. You
James
guys,
Wan
while
did
we're-
it better.
While we're watching this is what all your faces look like.
wrong. You're not wrong.
I think the little Miss Marvel. I think her sequence was better.
I agree.
Rat-a-tat-tat,
Oh, get the
Oh
fuck
my
out
God,
of
shut
here.
up!
But I think, I like the second part better than the first. I think Captain Marvel just look. I'm just not sold.
Kamala looked at Kamala looked at Nick Fury as if she was in love with him, like legitimately in love with
well,
him.
because
Kinda.
for her, that's like seeing a superhero. So
I mean,
that's why
yeah,
she
but like
acts-
there's difference
but it's
between being awestruck and being like, hi.
like, if it was Dawson, he'd be like,
I'm sorry, what the fuck?
A-rat-a-ta-ta, a-rat-a-ta-ta.
Not with that music.
Okay.
Oh well, that's a thing. That's a thing that's happening.
That's a movie that's coming
"Oh,
in a week.
boy, I don't know.
Wow.
It is indeed a
week.
movie that exists.
It's coming.
Well, Invincible comes out tomorrow though, right?
That's nice.
Oh, that I'm stoked for. Invincible.
What
Yeah.
does?
I don't.
Invincible.
Invincible. Yes.
I'd rather
Invincible
watch that
comes
than
out
the
tomorrow.
Marvel shit.
Actually, it comes out Friday. So it comes out-
Friday?
yeah, in 2 days.
Oh, that sucks. I'll be on the road.
Axel says tomorrow because he's already
He's
into
not.
Thursday.
Oh,
Right.
So for him, it's
True.
tomorrow.
yeah. Tomorrow.
Ooh.
It's tomorrow. I'm a good supporter.
So Ryan, you
Tomorrow.
said you're traveling?
I'm a good
I
fan of
will
Tamora
be.
Morrison. Where are you going?
Georgetown.
Georgetown.
Yeah.
It's random, but okay.
No one's ever really gone.
Okay. I won't be gone.
Oh man. But no, like Invincible's the thing I'm looking forward to next easily. I really love Invincible season 1, and I've been collecting more of the comics and really getting into that, and really liking the art style. And other than that, I'm trying to think of what else I'm just really excited for. Not a whole lot. I mean,
I'm
obviously-
excited tomorrow for the next episode
For
of
Loki.
Loki.
Yep.
I
right
think
there with
Loki,
Chandra.
the previous episode was really good.
yeah.
I really
I've been
enjoyed it.
traveling so much that I just have not been able to watch any of the
Yeah,
episodes.
me too.
Yeah, I bet.
You haven't.
I'm like, Ryan, have you seen Loki?
Dumb, you're dumb.
Ryan's
That's pretty much all
response.
I get.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
haven't seen it. I don't.
Actually, no.
And you know what? At this point, you may as well just fucking binge it when it's done in a week.
Yeah.
Probably.
Pretty
I mean,
much.
I'll watch
Actually,
it. But just, I
He
haven't
doesn't say
let-
that. He
gotta
doesn't
watch
say that. What he actually says.
I don't want your money. I want Aquaman.
And now I will
put my
watch
money away.
Aquaman when it comes out.
In theaters.
You know what? Yeah, I will because I like. That's high praise.
Ryan, yes, that is high praise.
Oh, I didn't see it all. I just went blank.
Oh,
No, I'll see it in
That's
theater.
high praise.
Thank you. Now I saw that.
Then they saw it. Okay.
No, because I like the dynamic between Orm and Arthur. So I want to see those guys on screen. I'll watch it. It'll be a shit show of a movie, but I watched fucking Flash in the theater. Can't be worse than that.
it can't look any worse.
We saw it in
that's
the
for damn
IMAX.
sure.
At this point, I've watched
Yeah, we
The
did.
Flash and Thor: Love and Thunder. I can watch anything. I can watch anything now. I've seen
fair.
terrible CGI.
That right there got that right there.
Phil's
Compared
face-
to today's standards, that right there is cinema.
That's cinema.
Phil's face was so angry and cartoonish.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, good gravity. No.
That movie. Ugh, it's such a
Such
disappointment.
bad
that movie.
Oh god,
That's not a very good
And we
movie.
were all
you're
like
right.
so excited for it. It was like, oh, around Christmas time, like this would be great. And
well,
watching
they
it.
kind of
Well, that's
fooled us
'cause you
because
you thought
Zach
it
was
was gonna
promoting
happen.
it, so we were like,
Yeah.
"Oh, Zach's
You're like,
promoting
oh,
it."
what? Oh, it's got his logo at the beginning of the movie. It's gonna be great. You can't get better than that.
Oh
That's
my
all I'd
gosh.
seen. I was like, "Oh my god."
Oh.
There's your DC universe.
You know
Anyways.
what? It's funny. Anthony mentions this. Where's the marketing for Aquaman 2? So yesterday, the Aquaman Instagram account teased something, and then today they showed off that it was nothing but like, what is it? That pure water. I don't even know. It was basically a promotion for a water bottle. I was like,
Mhm.
you fucking serious?
Yeah.
Really?
seriously.
I'm telling you, if you follow him on Instagram, he goes live all the time, but it's just his people going live while he signs autographs for his I think it's a brand of water or whatever it is
Yeah.
at grocery stores, and he like signs autographs, and they're like, "Yeah, there he is, Jason Momoa. Y'all
Yeah.
excited?" I was just like, "Why am I watching this?"
Alejandro says here too. It says, "Watch Fall the House of
Alright.
Usher." I've watched it. Fall the House of
great.
Usher
I
was
wanna watch
really
that. I
good.
wanna watch
It's
it.
really good. I agree.
I
gotta
will
go that
say-
the story is about the rise and fall of Usher, the artist, right? Like the singer.
Sure,
no.
but I
Oh
will say,
my.
as far as the Fall of the House of Usher is concerned, because it's a Mike Flanagan series, I liked it a lot. I just like the other 3 series he's done more. I
That's
mean,
fair.
obviously there's Hill House, which is amazing and perfect.
Midnight
Then you
Mass.
have Midnight Mass, which I just absolutely love. Then Bly Manor, I liked a lot actually, even though it was less on scares and more on like stories and such and more heartfelt beats. And then Fall the House of Usher goes in 4th, but they're all really close. I just
Then
think
he
that I
also-
like. Who
Gerald's
brought
Game's
it
great,
up,
too.
you douchebag?
That wasn't me.
Gerald's
Ryan.
Game's great too.
What was that?
Gerald's Game. It's great
That's
too.
right, Gerald's Game. Yeah. But yeah, I liked it a lot, but it just didn't really do it for me like the other 3 did. Even though it was still really good.
For you.
Yeah, that's a phrase you use all the time.
It made for nice Halloween content. I'll say
Yeah,
that.
he does
It
it
did.
all the time. It just didn't do it for me.
And
I never.
It just
I've
didn't
never
do it for
said
me.
that.
And Carla
You
Gugino
always
was
say
amazing
that.
in it. Carla Gugino was really great. Mark Hamill, it was fun to see him. He just didn't have a whole lot to do.
Like,
Well, so you watched The Last Jedi?
No, I'm talking about the Fall of the House of Usher.
Oh,
up.
okay. So you
Keep up. No, I do highly recommend it though. If people are into horror stuff and especially Edgar Allan Poe content, like
No one's ever really gone.
again, check out Fall of the House of Usher if you haven't already. I recommend it. It's a fun time.
I'll watch that tonight before I go to bed. Is it a series?
8 episodes, hour
It's a
long. Yeah.
series, yeah.
Fuck, I hate
Netflix.
series.
Well,
It's just-
tough
it's
shit,
so-
buddy. You just said
it's-
you were gonna watch it.
It's just so much of a.
You've already
commitment.
committed. You gave your word.
Maybe I'll
yeah,
just
that's
watch
why
it.
don't do that.
Maybe
don't-
what
don't
I'll
give
do
your
is
word.
I'll just tune into heavy spoilers and watch his video on it instead. His breakdown.
You would do
There's your
that.
cliff notes.
30-minute breakdown
Yeah.
with the
Dre says
dad jokes and
Bugsnax
all.
Legend
Oh,
of
you know
Vox
what? I
Bugsnax
actually
as
just
well.
saw that he got hit with a YouTube copyright on a
He
recent
did.
project.
He gets it all the time, to be honest
That's
with
like,
you.
that's fucked up. Because that
Who is this?
man, heavy spoilers.
Yeah.
Oh,
Heavy
yeah.
spoilers. He actually gets hit with that quite a bit. He gets very pissed.
yeah,
He
deservedly
told me
so,
he's like,
it's
I'll work on
aggravating.
a video for like 3 or 6 hours or whatever, and he uploads it. It's hit by copyright. Like, oh.
Yep.
Then he has to pull it back down, re-edit it, and fix it.
That's irritating.
Anyway,
Heavy spoilers, we feel for you. We feel for
yes.
you. Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
But with that, we're hitting close to the 2-hour mark. Is there
Yeah.
anything, any other topics anyone wanted to bring up or anything we want to discuss further? I mean, we kind of dissected everything today, but
I think that's
I
it,
think
man.
that's about it.
I'm going to go eat.
Yeah.
he's like, I'm
That's for
starving.
damn
I'm gonna go
sure.
knock the fuck out because I'm tired.
Yeah, I feel you. I drove 24 hours in 2 days, so that was not fun. But
Shame
What?
on you! Shame on you! Go f yourself!
that is where I'll end this here. Let's just end that here. Anyway, be sure to go check out Ryan's TeePublic. Go check out djwart.com. And be sure to go follow us on social media. Appreciate you guys tuning in with us today. We covered a lot of topics.
Yeah.
We're tired.
I have a new video out about Gen V, so check that out on my channel. Thank you.
Yeah, and go check this out. I just put this up today. I'm still working on this for anybody who still cares.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care. Let me tell you, we don't care.
So that's what I said. For anybody who still cares.
I'm just kidding. I like it. It looks good.
I don't want your money. I want. Oh man. Oh my God.
The foreshortening is really good on this. You did
I appreciate it. Yeah. So that's just something I've been working on. I'm doing the line art.
Look at me, sure. Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
Stop. Let the man speak.
Go,
Stop.
Phil.
Yeah. So but yeah, like I said, I have that and others. I'm just kind of showing the process of,
That's
what
awesome.
I've been doing with it. So, that's pretty much it. So yeah, go check it out.
This is not
it's on
this
my
is not
Instagram.
AI. It's not AI.
This is not
This
AI.
is not AI. I did, however, get in contact with Nicolas Cage about this, and we're working on something very.
I didn't. I answered your question.
Ignore the question.
We typically ignore you all the time, Jerga. That's why you're a good supporter. And he needs to work on his foreshortening. All right.
Yeah. No. Hey, it's a hard thing to work on.
It is difficult.
Perspective and things like that. So, yeah, I'm still working on it. Just every day something. So that's why I'm not on YouTube as much with doing my own content, because I'd rather be drawing than just getting on a stream talking about nothing.
Bullshit.
Because there's really nothing going on in the
I need a mug that
industry.
says that. I'd rather be drawing.
Yeah.
I need that. That sounds good.
So it's good. It's relaxing, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. And so far, I'm up to 12 pages.
There
Nice.
you go.
All right.
There you go. I'm working on my layouts right now for my book Glitch. I've only done
Oh, the
layouts.
C-3PO book.
Nope, that's not
No.
it. But I've done layouts for the first 2 pages so far. Most of the first 2 pages.
I'm here to tell you right now.
That's fair.
See?
That's fair. I did it for Ryan, so therefore I get it too. That's fair. But yeah, I've been traveling for conventions and stuff, so I haven't had a whole lot of time to work on it. But I'll be able to bust out more.
I've been touring DC studios and things like that. So
Yeah,
it's been good.
that's
And things of
fair.
that nature.
Things of that nature.
Oh gosh. With that,
All right.
I guess we'll see you guys later. We're tired. Have a good
Yep.
night, everybody.